りがとうございます。
Off. How's it going, everybody? I am Kyle from Fantasy Fort Studios, and we are back with session 29 of Adventures in Middle-earth. Can't believe we're on session 29. One more next week. We're on 30. That's crazy to think about, but we're here. Weekly, we're playing this game. D&D 5e campaign set in the world of Middle-earth, taking place between the years of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And we are joined by all of our players today, fortunately, and we are going to be finishing up this fellowship phase, moving into the next adventure. It's very exciting. Lots is hopefully going to be happening here in, well, hopefully. But anyways, let me go ahead and toss it on over to introducing our players. So starting with Valinith.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I know it's been a couple weeks since I've been in the loop. However, I am back. I'm excited. Valinith has been spending his time studying. He is a high elf from Rivendell. He is a scholar class, so he does all the healing and whatnot. And he tells horrible puns all the time. But he's been spending his time at Woodman Hall, doing as scholars do, and scholarly studying about the Woodmen in the surrounding areas. So that's good. Not a lot's been happening, but hopefully you learned some valuable information for everyone.
Perfect. Next, we have Theodric.
Hey everybody, I'm that Chubby Australian. I play Theodric Grimborn. He is our Slayer from Rohan. He's the youngest of the party, and he has been kind of getting in touch with his roots while staying with the Woodmen. He's had some interesting discoveries over the 2 months he's been there, and he's happy to have earned an invitation to the Folk-moot and hopefully a small audience with Lord Heartfast.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he's just been helping out, doing his thing, doing what he do.
Exactly. And our next player we have is Jess.
Hello, I am SpiderFan33 in Twitch chat, or I play Jessamine Sackville Baggins, the cousin of one of the more renowned burglars from the Shire. She is less interested in the Folk-moot and more interested in a very peculiar map she got her sticky fingers on. To what end? We'll see. Tune in
We
next
got to
episode.
see her colors shine through last session,
Oh my gosh.
being a stealthy hobbit.
Being a stealthy, sneaky little person. Yeah, I love to see it.
All I have to say is no wonder Bilbo was chosen for the job of a burglar professionally. It's great. It's good stuff.
Runs in their blood.
Exactly.
It's in our genes, man.
And finally, we have Feanor.
Hey guys, I'm Nick or Lavacrest in the chat. I'm playing Feanor, the Mirkwood Slayer. He kind of went off again on his own after kind of promising not to do that twice already. But he's currently out meeting all the people of like the Woodman area. And he can't wait till he meets up with his group again, hopefully with more tales to tell and having helped this area get stronger against the shadow.
Exactly. And as you all know, those who have been following us for 29 sessions, or at least had tuned in last session, this group of adventurers, they are in Woodland Hall. Feanor not so much, but they're spending a fellowship phase. I'll get more into that later. But I'm Kyle. I'm the lore master of this campaign. I will be playing both with and against, interceding on behalf of fate for these players in the world of Middle-earth, seeing how their actions dictate the events to come, and also how their adventures really shape the world of Middle-earth as the tale inevitably draws into the years of the War of the Ring. That's still a ways off, but they're laying the groundwork for anything that's going to be happening in future years coming up here. But yes, I am here to be able to just enjoy and help narrate some of the story that these characters are creating. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of recap over the past sessions, but particularly last session. So for those who don't know, the group, they have come back from basically being caravan guards for Baldur and Belgo, completing their journey through Mirkwood, encountering wayward elves, encountering hobbits, new characters, all that kind of stuff, to which they found their way all the way down to Woodland Hall. And this is a settlement, a rather ancient settlement of ancient relatively for human years, settlement of woodmen here in the western eaves of Mirkwood. And this was the final destination of the caravan and where the group mostly decided to set up for the summer months. They discovered Ingolmer, who is the village chieftain, although he doesn't necessarily like being referred to by that name. But they found him and grew acquainted with him, to which they found out about the Folk-moot, a meeting that happens every year at the end of summer, always July 31st, where all the elders of all the various villages within the Woodland realm, meet and discuss stuff, what's going on in their current vicinities, what's going on in each of the villages, and also in this case with this group, they were able to find, by not only giving the axe head of Ingolmer back to him and his line, they were able to be invited at the table, and not just as guests, but as active participants in the Folk-moot to come. And so the plan for the party is to make their way all the way down to Roskabel, down to the south, where this meeting will happen at the end of July. In the meantime, they had spent their time doing various things. As mentioned, Valineth had spent time in Woodasild studying along with Theodric, and Theodric going out amongst the people and just trying to figure out what's going on. Theodric with a particular focus on discovering his past, or ancestors, and kind of where his people descended from, in order to figure out a little bit more of where this anger is coming from, this rage that he has. Basically, Jess, she spent time here sleuthing around, trying to finding a very interesting map with some interesting writing on it, but also hanging out with with one of the women at the village, which she found was very much akin to her in her way of healing crystals and herbology and all that, really stuff that reminds Jess a lot of her grandma, quite frankly. And so they spent a lot of time together getting to know each other and also getting a few items in the process. Feanor spent a little bit of time at the beginning of their fellowship phase here in Woodland Hall, but he decided to spend his time going out about scouting the around areas and acquainting himself with all of the woodman settlements that are within the western eaves of Mirkwood. This includes Rowanhold and the Black Tarn thus far, and he does plan on making his way over to Woodman Town and then meeting the party at Roskabel. And during that time, he was able to meet back with Galavira, which, if you remember at Session 0, Rowanhold was the village. He was taken captive by them, but it was the village that he saved from Grey Muzzle Hob, the evil warg which they were paying tribute to. And in the time, he had found out and discovered that Rowanhold had now become an official part of the Woodman community, and is also, Galavira will also be at the Folk-moot. He made his way all the way down the river to the Black Tarn, to which he was introduced to Ameliota and showing off his woodworking skills, as it looked like they were in the process of building up basically a village around the Black Tarn, which is this fisherman community at the bottom of this giant lake that's in the middle of Mirkwood. And he was on his way to go do that. But at the end of all of this, we hadn't quite gotten through what everyone was going to be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the torch off to Valinith. Valinith's actions are the last ones we have been waiting on in order to complete this fellowship phase before we jump into the next adventure. Valinith,
Yeah, Dain.
here we go.
Sorry to make you wait, guys. But it worked out because everyone was able to have their piece last session.
Oh yeah, and Theodric had dreams, very intense
have
dreams.
Yeah, we
Nice.
do love when Theodric has dreams.
Theodric has dreams, and we'll get to you, Theodric, on your reactions to that. But
Imagine dreaming.
yeah.
Imagine. Is this
Who
a
does
human joke I'm too elven to understand?
Well, they are animals, so you know.
And we've come full circle.
Sorry. So are we starting all the way back at the beginning?
Yes, and so
there's a
there was a little bit of time that you spent with Theodric as you went to go investigate
Yes.
Woodisold. You spoke a little bit with Ingolmer during all of this, but you have really preoccupied yourself with the time of studying all of the wall art, essentially, whether it's tapestries, murals, carvings, engravings, anything of the sort, in order to discover what exactly are the woodmen about. This is something that in your studies you haven't learned a whole lot of, and a lot of word of the woodmen hasn't made its way to Imladris for you to be able to study, and so this is fascinating. So you find yourself spending the majority of your time here.
Okay. Well, do I need to make any checks or anything as far as?
Yes. So,
Okay.
as you're studying and investigating, I'm going to have you either make a history check, so you can choose to do that, or
Okay.
you can make a lore check. This is going to be because you are, unfortunately, exhausted. This is
Yeah.
going to be at disadvantage. After this
Yep.
check, though, you will have your rest to be able to get rid of. And by the way, everyone can remove exhaustion from their character sheet. So go ahead and do that. But after this roll, you will no longer be exhausted.
Okay. Well, they weren't that different. 11 was my roll.
All right.
So.
And so, as you investigate and try to discern, one of the things that Theodric had noticed that you were doing is asking a lot of the people that would come into Woodisold some advice about things that they know. You made a habit of this, and You found varying stories about some of the murals and wall art that you saw. While most of them had generally the same threads, some of the stories, it's very difficult to tell exactly what happened based off of hearsay and everybody's opinions or relative knowledge on the matter. However, you were able to discover a few things of importance, particularly some of the histories, similar histories to what Theodric had learned in the 4 different houses that are very clear on display here. But also about some of kind of the earlier histories, which, if you think about it for the Woodmen, that extends back as far as the First Age, for you get small glimpses of that and how they were people that wandered around, mostly in kind of the north, in the kind of the Vales of Gundabad and in the Grey Mountains, but you found out that they were actually allies to the Longbeards, the clan of dwarves that they not necessarily served over, but they fought with them against orcs and actually men of the East, the Easterlings. They stood with them, and eventually they began to travel southwards, little by little, different from the houses that Errol the Young ascended from, the help that was sought by Gondor, but some of these houses were kind of on the move anyways. One of which in particular, which you found a very vast history of, is the house of Ingolmer, which he is in, which, if I can pull up my notes to remember exactly what that was, that would be the House of Isrod, and how they came into being. They made their way mostly up in the north, but they had come around on they started off on the eastern side and the northern side of Mirkwood, and it wasn't until later in the Third Age, towards the beginning of the Third Age, that they finally started making the move over to the west, in the lands of Wilderland. The one thing that does actually catch your interest, and you learn a little bit of, there's small little tapestry that you found kind of tucked away in the corner, specifically about a character of prominence from what you remember in your studies of the Dunedain. And someone that you and the people of Ladris knew of quite well. You never met the guy, but his name was Isildur. And you learned actually a little bit of the discovery of him and his men, who were slaughtered in an area of Middle-earth called the Gladden Fields. This is a area that you have not been through yet or visited, but apparently word had reached these woodmen that the Dunedain were under attack, and so they sent word to Woodland Hall, or to the King Thranduil in the Woodland Realm, but also they went to save what was remaining of these Dunedain forces, and unfortunately the vast majority of them, with the exception of 2 individuals, were killed. That is all that you know of this encounter, and that is where this tapestry and the writings on it ends. But that is something of note to you.
Okay.
For sure.
Cool.
Other than that, you just kind of spent a decent amount of time getting to know more kind of the people and the culture of Woodland Hall as you do so. This takes you quite a bit of time as you study, but one fateful day, late in July, Jess makes her way into Woodisill. The very first time you had seen her outside of visiting back to where you all were staying, but this is the first time you saw her actually visit the Hall of Woodisill, and she has carrying with her what looks to be a torn piece of parchment. She offers it to you. You ask her questions of where this came from, and she basically just told you she found it.
I found it. I borrowed it.
Exactly. And what was it that you asked Valnith to do with this?
Make a copy.
To which he accepts graciously.
Just make sure you return this to whoever it came from if you're borrowing it.
Oh, of course. If I see them again, I will certainly return it to them.
Okay, that's the responsible thing to do, Jessamine.
See, that's why she needs a copy, you know?
Yeah. So I can give the original back.
So Valinith,
Mhm.
busy at work with his cartographer's supplies, he takes a first glance at this half-torn map. It's very clearly a map, Valinith, that you see, and you're like, oh, of course, this is something that I need, that I have got quite a bit of skill at, and you actually make it quite fancier than it was before. You add kind of a little bit of extra detail. I'm gonna
Some
have
flair.
some flair, yeah. I'm gonna have you make just a straight nature check for me.
Okay.
This
Do I
can
get to
be
add
with-
+2 with my cartographer tools?
Yes, you can add your proficiency bonus to this because you're using
Okay.
cartographer's supplies.
Nature, you said?
Nature check. I don't know what that means, but
It's a natural one. +2, so not a natural one. So that's a 5 total.
5 total.
Yeah.
The one thing that just baffles you and appalls you about this map is how poorly drawn it is. And so you're doing
Yeah.
all that you can in order to straighten some of the lines, in order to figure out what this could be a map of. At first you were like, oh, maybe this looks like some kind of underground fortress or something. But then you start to think, oh, I don't really know exactly what this could be. And in the end, you eventually just kind of give up, and you pretty much just do a verbatim copy of what it is. You're not proud of your work, but you are able to draw it out, and you just look at it, and you're just like, ugh. You sloppily scrawl 2 X's on the map and a half-drawn little circle where these are found within the map. And you're just like, all right, let's get to translate, in which you flip over to this is a much more interesting task. You immediately recognize this as the common language, similar to what Jess had seen, and you look in, and you look closer. Oh, whoever wrote this had the hippie shakes or something. This is going to take some time in order to. So you actually have to spend some time outside of Wood of Soul, taking a total of 3 days to actually go through each line painstakingly and writing out and translating it again verbatim, the vernacular that is written into the common speech. To which it is translated as, if you will go ahead and pull that up, Valinith.
Okay. You sent it to me in Discord, right?
I did.
Okay.
And I will post it
okay.
in the group Discord as well after this has been read.
So
Thank you.
Valinith goes up to Jessamine and just says, well, I don't know who wrote this. Well, I do know who wrote this. There's a reason why it took me so long to translate. And Valinith clears his throat. We be needing info about what's happening in Wilderland. And you know who's on the road, who's got no defenses, and most important of all, them travelers with coin and food, especially them stubby bearded dwarves. We love dwarves' gold, and their taste the most. Wait. Taste the most? Hold up. We love dwarves' gold and their taste the most. If you're willing to do some sneaky scouting for us, we'll promise you payment. We'll give you a lot of coin and shiny things. If you help us find... There we go. We goblins, and we always keep our promises when it comes to payment. Meet us at the back door if you find us something good, and we'll give you precious things. There's a big hoard waiting for you if you spill the goods. Chief's orders, signed, Blodolg and Volter. Where did you get this? These are goblins who wrote this, Jalen. Or not Jalen, sorry. These are goblins who wrote this.
That just happened.
He's been working too hard the last 3 days.
R.I.P. Yeah, we'll just say, oh, well, these quite scary looking people were talking about well, you know, I've been interested in the treasure hoards and the such. They were talking about how they've been hired to undertake some sort of task. They were discussing whether or not they could trust these people. I suppose they meant the goblins. That's where I got it from.
Well, I don't recommend doing any dealings with goblins. And Valneth hands the map that he also copied, as well as the original, back to Jessamine and says, "Well, it's no wonder I couldn't do a beautiful job doing this. Goblins made it, obviously." And hands it to her and says, "I know you said you borrowed this, but I feel like it's probably not smart to give this back to whoever you got this from."
Oh. So do you think I actually did the right thing in taking it from them?
He's just thinking to himself.
Well,
Taking it, you say.
Borrowed,
Taking it, you say.
when I say borrowed, I mean I sort of borrowed it, and they might not have known that I borrowed it. That's all.
And Valneth sighs.
But if they got it off goblins, then it's all fine, right?
I guess. I feel like this is quite dubious business. I think it'd be best to stay as far away from this as possible. Personally, I mean, I can't control what you do, Jessamine, but I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And hands it back to her.
So, from what you're telling me, the goblins want to hire people in order to prey upon the travelers?
According to what this says, it seems like a receipt of payment of sorts. Whatever is marked here on this map that it's half a map, it's not an entire map, but whatever is marked here, I guess needs to be fetched and returned to the goblins for lots of hoarded treasure. I don't know if that's worth it. So it seems to be dwarven of make, if that's the case.
Does Jess know about goblins?
I'm gonna have you make a... You can choose either nature or traditions.
I am equally bad at both. Let's go traditions. 9.
You know, actually, a surprising amount, most likely from the Hobbits of the Shire, mostly based off of the stories of Bilbo Baggins, his adventures through Goblin Town, and you've heard your fill of the King Goblin and all that the dwarves did to be able to escape. You heard stories about how they would poke and prod his companions and want to basically licking their teeth in order to eat them. One thing that you did note that definitely sticks out on this letter is the fact that, yeah, most likely dwarves, or they really love the taste of dwarves, and most importantly, dwarven gold, as you suspect Bilbo Baggins has hidden in the chest that he brought back from his adventures. This is something that, based off of the description that you learned from them, they're very chaotic creatures that do little to control their appetites. They're pretty much creatures that are pretty much based off of appetite.
Well, I was kind of thinking that even if we don't do a direct deal with them, we could, I don't know, try and trick them, see if we can gain access to this hoard.
I mean, there are stories of goblins not being the most intelligent of beings, but they are cunning. I fear that if we did do some sort of deal, I don't even want to think about doing a deal with any of their kind, but I think if whatever we find on this map, I think it's best served that we don't deliver it to the final destination, if you get my gist. So keeping this to yourself, because anything in the goblins' hands, I mean, they're evil. They're evil creatures, and it just makes a mockery of whatever you give them.
Well, the goblins seem pretty intent on getting it. Why should we leave it lying around for someone else to take.
I mean, we have this map now. I guess that's true, but I want nothing to do with this. And Valneth does this and cleans his head. That's all you, Jessima.
He hands both copies over
So,
to
yeah, go ahead. I can hold back.
so to be clear,
Mm.
you don't want me to make a deal with the goblins.
No.
You also don't want me to return what I borrowed.
Well, I worry for your safety, of course. Yes.
So what would you recommend that we do with this information?
Well, I'm not gonna do anything with it. I guess that's up to you. I translated it. I did my job. and do what you will with it, but those are the two things I do not recommend. Do not give this back to the original owner. And don't go to the goblins. Definitely don't go to the goblins. Definitely don't go to the goblins. Let me repeat, don't go to the goblins.
I've heard a lot of stories about the elves of Rivendell.
Oh, yes.
They make a lot
Oh,
more
great,
sense
I'm
now that
sure.
I've met you. Not all,
Yes.
but they make a lot more sense now that I've met you. And just mine will wander off.
Can I make an insight check on that of sorts?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
What she's
Go ahead.
prodding at?
Yeah.
Man, I'm
What
rolling
would that
terrible
be?
today. It's a 9.
You can choose either deception or persuasion. Or no,
Yeah,
deception or
I'm not-
performance.
Yeah, performance. That would be it. Yeah. She's being low key passive aggressive at this.
Yeah, I know. That's why I want to roll an insight.
16.
Low key.
Yeah. That's not
Like
something
it.
Valneth would
Exactly
pick up
what
on,
I was
guess.
about to say. Yeah. Like, this is low key.
Jesus, she's gonna be destroying all of us verbally. Like,
I
Yeah,
refuse to be lectured by a thief.
See, you've heard of Shadow, but just out here casting shade.
oh no.
Apparently goes
Oh.
right over Valneth's head, too, so it's all good.
And you leave your separate
yeah,
ways.
so this could be taken either as a good thing or a bad thing. She's heard a lot of stories about elves that make sense.
Valneth just always thinks to himself, what strange creatures hobbits are, but he's glad to have met one.
And for
she
now,
was thinking very similar things about elves.
I love it. That's great interactions. I love it. And as you part ways towards the end of the month, Theodric.
Quickly, is there any opportunity for me to potentially go to the market? I know in the last session other people went there and see if they could
Make a quick
do any of that.
investigation or perception check for me. Either or.
Okay. I mean, they're the same. Okay. That is a 22.
Oof. Yeah, you make your way down to the market. This is basically what else you do in your pastime, is exploring around, finding Belgo and Baldur, talking them up, chatting them up. Actually, more going to them to figure out what's in stock and what they have their eyes on that's here in this market that they've been keeping eyes on trading. And they actually share a decently good amount of information with you. There's a number of things. So first and foremost, you are also thinking about, it's inevitable. Your next adventure is on the horizons. You can find stuff, and I'm going to extend this to both Theodric and Jess. I will give you, all three of you, the opportunity to be able to purchase potentially stuff for your upcoming adventure as far as travel type stuff. And what that will include is anything like fall and winter clothing, if you don't have any of those on your character. That essentially, while traveling in that, it'll make it a little bit more difficult for you to gain points of exhaustion while traveling. Your DC will be a little bit lower for that. Also, you can get things like lanterns, lantern oil, You can get mess kits, which they all have various different effects. Things like pouches, rope, water skins if you don't have a water skin, whetstones, which can be used to help repair and sharpen weapons and that kind of stuff, and then rations and things like that. Fortunately for you, as it is growing towards the end of summer and most people are about ready to make their way back home, there are a number of sets of adventuring gear. There is one specific set that is worth 18 silver pennies that have all of these things. They have fall and winter clothing. You can find it for all shapes and sizes. You have a hooded lantern, a bedroll, a mess kit, one flask of lantern oil, a pouch, 50 foot of hempen rope, one water skin that can hold 8 gallons of water, one whetstone, and 8 rations. So you can have all of that for the low price of 18. If you want to remove anything from that because it's not necessary, it can go to as low as 10 silver pieces with still considering it a set.
Okay. Well, Valinith will relay this information to Theodric and Jess if they are interested in purchasing anything. Valinith is curious and to see if they have any sort of like healing medicine supplies and or armor. Because yeah, Valinith's a little squish.
Well,
So
and fortunately, because you've been spending some time in the markets and with that sweet roll, you've been searching for things in particular. Some of these things being armor. Some things of note that you've noticed is both woodmen make and also you could tell foreign make as well. You've noticed that there was a particularly nice looking broadsword on sale, a pretty nice axe, and actually a staff. A staff is something that maybe could catch your eye and tickle your fancy. As far as armors go, you have found 2 armors that everything else, just forget it. It looks too heavy and unwieldy.
Okay.
But you have found that there is one set, particularly nice looking leather corset, and also a set of hide armor. And you're starting to think about the winter months, so this could be something that's good as well.
What's the difference between the hide armor and the corset armor?
So the hide is considered medium armor, so chances are you probably don't have proficiency with it. The leather corselet, both of them have the same armor value, technically. The leather corselet, though, is light armor, and it's going to be more expensive. So if you're looking for the leather corselet, it starts at 45 silver. The hide armor is 10 silver, but again, you won't have proficiency with it.
Okay. And what is the staff do? I don't even think I have proficiency with a staff. Is that a
That's a simple weapon. So it's 5 silver for a staff. For an axe, it's 10 silver, and then for the broadsword, it's 30 silver. You can attempt to. I'll give you with that nice high roll. I'll give you one attempt in order to finagle prices down if you want for one item of your choice, but it's up to you.
Well, so what would the staff be as far as
You boop things with it.
Well, obviously you boop things with it, but what kind of dice roll is that? Is that a?
It's a D8, I believe. It's a
think
D8
you use
bludgeoning.
strength to attack with it though.
Yeah, strength and D8 bludgeoning damage.
Okay. Well, I don't have a lot of strength. What about broadsword? I'm not proficient with broadswords. I want to get proficient with broadswords. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Are
but
broadswords reflavored rapiers?
Yeah, they're reflavored rapiers, and so
it would be a dex-based weapon for you. If
Yeah,
you're
and I'm
got a high
I'm
dexterity.
kind of dexterous.
You can think
I don't know
about
if I'm proficient with it
You
though.
can think about things for the future too. As Jess attempted to do during this, I will allow you during fellowship phases to attempt to become proficient in something as your fellowship phase action. Whatever that is, that it could include weapons, that can become a skill, that could become whatever the case. We're gonna have to flavor it however it is, but it and it depends on the location if you're actually able to do that. But if you want to think for the future and future-proof, if you don't, like for example, if you want to get the hide armor and only spend 10 silver pieces to become eventually. You can become proficient with that. You can do that. Or
what kind of broadsword is it? What kind of broadsword?
You can tell that it's of man make, but it's very nicely done. Kind of, it sets itself apart from some of the others, but it's just a normal broadsword.
Okay, so I was just wondering if it's +1/+2 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Normal broadsword. Okay. Okay, Valneth's gonna go up to the person and without finagling too much. He's gonna try to finagle down the price of the corslet from 45 silver.
Okay.
He's gonna approach and be like, "Why, what a mighty fine set of armor you have there. How much would you be willing to part with it for?"
Oh, I've seen you keeping your eye or two around here. I will have to say, I think this would fit you quite nicely. Oh, yes, as you can see, this is fine craftsmanship. And he goes through and he talks about all the different kinds of stitches that he uses. Oh, you look like you're an elf for combat. This will be able to help you in this way. And he basically goes through, he says, if I were to peg it on you, and he looks you up and down and he sees the fine clothing that you have, I can part with this for 50 silver pieces.
Oh, I see. I have seen my combat in the past, but however, I'm looking for more for human heirlooms of sorts. Bringing back to Rivendell as kind of a history of the world of Middle Earth as it is. Unfortunately, my budget isn't quite there. However, would you be willing to part with it for, say, you said 50. It is fine craftsmanship. 35 silver?
I'm going to have you make a persuasion check or a deception check.
Glad at both those. So I'm gonna try persuasion because I'm not trying to deceive. Ah, it's not horrible. It's a 12.
12.
It's a 12. Yeah.
Well, you honor me in attempting to bring this back to your people. In fact, if elves such as you would have an eye for such things, perhaps those back in Rivendell would have one as well. I don't think I could go as low as 35. How about 40, perhaps? I'll take 10 silver off, and you tell them that it is made from Ludolf.
Oh, that sounds like a great price. I will take it for 40 silver pieces. And how much would the staff be as well?
This simple thing, it's actually taken me quite a bit to get rid of this. I could part with this for 3 silver.
And I will take that. I appreciate it, my friend. And then Valneth will also purchase one of those winter or fall and winter kits as well. So what are that, 17?
That's going to be 18.
18. Wait, I'm gonna see if I even have enough for that. 40.
So just while he's doing that, is this something that Feanor would already have on him because he was living out in the woods during like winters and stuff, or no?
For like winter clothing and like just general stuff. So like you'll notice this is going to be an option most of the time at the beginning of all of your adventures. You can either like choose to like for some of the stuff it's reusable. Some of it's probably a better deal just to buy them separately, but if you're kind of starting your adventure, you can kind of find something. So most likely I think the majority of you have some of these stuff, but each thing will add something different. So one thing that's actually different here that woodmen tend to add to their gears is the hooded lantern and the flask of lantern oil. That's something you're not going to be able to really get probably anywhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Valneth will pipe up. That seems like a great price. What if I do you one more favor? I do have some comrades who could need such things as well. Because we will be traveling here shortly. We are actually going to the Folk-moot. We are honored guests, in fact. If I send them your way to pick up these things, could I potentially get this set for 15 silver?
You've already done great business with me, and my pockets feel a lot heavier because of you. I could part with all of this for 15 silver.
I will take it, kind
In fact, if you do send more customers my way, I will also part with these for 15 silver if they take the sets. Consider it a adventurer's discount.
Adventurer's discount. Ha! I like how you think. Huzzah to you, my friend. And purchases what I need. So
He thinks for a moment, huzzah.
And just Valinus just smiles and does that. And then I can just add those, right?
Yeah, is
So
that something
I'll
that
worry
the
about that later.
two of you, both of you, also want to purchase at some point before heading out? The set?
I do need some of that stuff. I'm not gonna go the full kit
Okay.
because a lot of it I already have.
Okay.
But what was it? 10 silver to pick
10.
and choose some of the
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Theodric is going to grab some winter clothing.
Okay.
A lantern and some lantern oil.
Okay.
And a whetstone and some more rations.
Perfect. Yeah, you can go ahead and get all of those for 10 silver. You get 1 whetstone, 8 rations, 1 flask of lantern oil, a hooded lantern, and then your clothing. Jess.
By the way, quick question: is this staff a quarter staff or an arcane focused staff?
Quarterstaff.
It'd be
Okay.
yeah, so you can use it with 2 hands too, and I think you get extra damage on that.
Yeah, I think it becomes a D10.
Yeah, a D10. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yes.
Yes. What are you interested in, Jess? If you are at all in any of this.
Yeah, I am. I was just reading the items they gave me. It's wild. Okay, so can you list through everything in the
Yes.
pack again?
Yeah. So fall/winter clothes, which help you in travel in those seasons. Hooded lantern, bedroll, mess kit, flask of lantern oil, 1 pouch, 50 feet of hempen rope, 1 8-gallon water skin, 1 whetstone, and then 8 rations.
Okay. I will take all of that except the bedroll and the mess kit. I
Okay.
don't believe I need the mess kit because I have the pots.
Perfect. Then the price for that will be 12 silver for all of that.
Okay, too easy. Oh, can I also get a fair quantity of handkerchiefs as well?
Fair quantity of handkerchiefs. For 1 silver penny, you can have your choice of 6 different lavish handkerchiefs, all basically done in small little doily kind of looking ones, all the way to very heavy duty. You can soak up lots of moisture with them. So yes, you get 6 handkerchiefs for 1 silver penny if you wish to do so.
And how many?
13
Sorry,
silver
how many flasks of lantern oil?
1 flask of lantern oil. Alright.
I'm just gonna
Theodric.
spend the next few minutes adding all that to my...
Theodric, we're gonna quickly jump out of line here. And we're gonna make our
Sorry,
way.
I'm just trying to find winter clothing in the.
It's okay. I can add it later if it's not there.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sorry. Yeah, no worries. We're gonna go ahead and jump over to you just waking up after your crazy dream. This is actually going to be the day of your departure. You've woken up, and Valinith and Jess, are the two of you in the treehouse, or have you gone about your day? It's probably creeping in at about 9:30 to 10 a.m. in the morning.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Jess does not spend much time in the treehouse. She'd probably be over at Giselda's, making her breakfast and saying her goodbyes and stuff like that.
Perfect. Valinith, are you going to be in the treehouse, or are you going to be elsewhere?
I would say he'd probably be in the treehouse getting ready for the day, since he spends so much time at the scholarly place.
The Woodacell.
Woodacell. He's going to be doing some personal study by himself, going over some of the notes and stuff he's taken. So he'll be in the treehouse.
Okay.
So.
And you awake, Theodric, a little bit disturbed over the terrible things that you had seen. Again, just a quick reminder, not only had you seen the woodman settlements, the ones that you have, one, especially this one, which you have come to know so well, and the people that you've come to love, You've seen visions of it burning. You've seen spectral wargs. You've also seen your own lands of Rohan being besieged by wicked large orcs with wearing a white hand on their armor, and also a large white city under siege by what look to be an army of orcs.
Can I do I guess it would be history check to figure out do I know that that is Gondor, the White City of Gondor?
So chances are you probably have never visited Gondor, but yes, you can make a history or I'm going to say you could do a history or a traditions check for me.
That is a 16 on a tradition check.
16. You absolutely know, you've never been there, but you know of a white city, and the only one that you can think of is Minas Tirith.
Okay. Theodric gets out of bed and is very disturbed, obviously. I have lost Dain. I don't know if you guys have. I'm having internet troubles today.
Yeah, I lost him.
Okay. And he is just takes a moment to gain his bearings and figure out that yes, he's safely in his treehouse room at the moment, and just kind of centers himself before wandering out into, I guess, the common room of this treehouse, to see who's around and what's up.
It is a very hot summer morning as you make your way out into this common room. There's no one immediately there that you can see, and you feel this kind of sense of loneliness settle upon yourself. You look out into, because with all the panoramic views that you have of this from the top of this treehouse, you see this beautiful town, beautiful city laid out before you, and you can't help but think of these people. But whatever seems to have happened definitely has not come to pass. That gives a little bit of relief, but I'm going to have you make a wisdom saving throw for me.
Okay. Come on. That's a 7.
7. You look out amongst and you feel this sense of sorrow deep within you. Not enough to give you any points of shadow, fortunately, but you do feel this sense of sorrow, and as you know that this is the day that you are about to set out on your journey, on your adventure, you can't help but feel apprehensive about not only the state of the other woodman settlements, but the state of the world around.
I guess trying to take his mind off it. I'm assuming we've already bought all of our stuff, like, because this is the day of our. He is going to, I guess, sit down and just like double check his pack, make sure everything's ready, and having it all in order. Take out the whetstone and just start using that on his longsword just to keep it ready, and to just try and calm him down, try and put him in the zone and in the right headspace to, you know, have a stiff upper lip and just kind of try and like keep it in the back of his mind as something he needs to talk about to, you know, either Feanor or Valineth, because he values their judgment and their experience. But for now, just not to worry about it and not to stress over something that, as far as he knows, may not ever come to pass.
Right. So you do so. You're able to get ready, and you're able to basically meet everybody, or make your way down towards the front gates. You do so before anybody else, actually. You're able to get Baradarok, and you do plan on meeting there around noon in order to set off on your adventure. Let's jump over to Jess really quickly as you say your goodbyes to Giselda. We'll play that a little bit. You make your way over to Giselda's place, and she's become very accustomed to first breakfast, second breakfast, all of the meals of the day. She's actually one of the things that you have bonded a lot over is going out and foraging over some of the stuff to be able to add to your meals, and kind of
Yeah.
like your long walks and whatnot. She looks to you and says, "Oh, is it the end of the summer already? Oh, I'm going to miss you dearly, Jess."
Oh, and you. I give her a big hug.
She hugs you in return. And she lingers for a moment as she kind of pats your back and rubs you a little bit. It's not every day that I feel like, well, not only am I losing a child, but losing a kindred spirit. You do promise me that while you are off on the road, please, please be safe. Keep your wits about you. And remember what I gave you. There's a secret hidden power within these. Use them. Use them on you. Use them for your friends.
Of course. I'd like to take a rock I found earlier, and it's one that's split in half, and I'll reach out to give her half.
She takes it. She holds it close to her heart. And she looks to you and says, "Every day that I've spent with you, I'm always surprised. Surprised not only for the friendship that we've made, but most importantly, how one so young could be so wise of the ways of the world. And your kindness, yes, your kindness."
My gran often told me that if there was not room for kindness in the world, there would be no room for anything.
Your gran sounds like a well-studied, well-experienced hobbit. I do hope maybe one day I can meet her as well.
I wish for nothing more, but we lost her about 6 years ago now,
I see.
or a little more.
I do apologize to bring something up. I know you talk about her so much, almost as if she's still here. And perhaps she still is.
Oh yes, I still see her sometimes in her recipes when I make them, in when I remember what she taught me. She said once that nothing lasts forever because some infinities are smaller than others. But in that respect, everything lasts forever.
This is true.
I can understand what she meant.
I think it's something that you learn with age, dear. And you have lots of years left, hopefully, in front of you. And I will say this. As long as I live, for the remainder of my days here on this Middle Earth, I will remember the summer spent with you and the kindness that you shared towards an old woman such as myself. If you make just such a simple impact on the lives of others, whether it's your companions or those out in the world who you're able to grace with your bright, sunshiny disposition, I will find that perhaps you do live for others, when you will live on forever, far after your death. And that is one thing that I will say. Perhaps for me, I have not made as much of an impact as I would have liked to here on Middle Earth.
But I will say that I am happy to make the few friends that I have. That includes you, my friend.
I just like take her hands very warmly in both of mine, and she'll say, "I will always remember you, Grisbelda, even if we don't meet in this life again. Our
Absolutely.
connection is real."
She begins to tear a little bit, and she pulls you in for yet another trembly hug at this point.
Yeah.
And she pulls you away and kind of holds you by the shoulders and rubs your right shoulder specifically and says,
Mm.
Again, please be safe, and if you ever find your way back here to Woodland Hall, you don't have to stay in the trees. You have a home right here, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I really don't like those trees.
They're not for everyone, that's for sure.
They make me feel so nervous being up that high. You know, my gran always said, "Respect the trees. They are ancient and wise beyond all knowing." But I I I like my feet on the ground. Thank you very much.
Yes. I grew up, some would say, up in those trees with my feet off the ground, and I will say there's something a little bit safer about being firmly planted where the grass grows. So I can sympathize with your views.
and she laughs and says, and looks at you.
Always keep the happiness. The world has a way, especially as you venture far and wide, of sapping the joy from those who don't actively seek it. Actively seek your joy, Jess.
Yeah, she'll probably there's probably a lot of like goodbyes and a fair amount of crying and all that sort of thing. But
Absolutely.
yeah, she's definitely like very late to the meetup point.
For sure. 2:00 happens and everybody's there.
Yeah.
Couple hours late as they're waiting for you, Jess. But Theodric and Valinith, you finally meet up. I'm gonna have between the three of you, for all of the lodging, divvy up whatever 14 silver. A little bit of that could. No, not 14.
I paid the first. Yeah, because I paid the first couple of weeks when I was there still.
10 silver. You can figure out who's paying for what with whatever money that you have for that, and you could divvy that out. But it's 10 silver for the cost for the entire time that you were staying in the tree houses. And you all meet up to leave for Roskabel.
Cool.
Valinith will pay 4 of that.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do 3. You're muted, Theodric.
And I'll pay the remaining 3.
Okay, easy. Done.
And with that, you look at the open road ahead of you. Yes.
Before I do that, Valinith, part of the reason why he bought the entire pack as opposed to just like a little bit, Valinith is actually going to leave some of the supplies with Belgo and Balder, so that they can, like, kind of as like a makeup for not necessarily like for all the trouble that befell them and stuff. So Valinith's gonna leave the rope. He's gonna leave, he's gonna leave 2 days of rations for them, and then he's going to leave some flask of lantern oil for them and some other stuff. Yeah, I'll figure it out, but I'm basically leaving a bunch of stuff with them for whatever journeys they have left.
And it takes a lot of convincing in order for them to take it, but they eventually do take it. You all meet up as you look towards the open road. Not quite open, it's back into the Mirkwood, but there's a very clear trail, a very clear path. The woods around the sides aren't webbed with spiders. It's not quite as quiet. You can hear birds echoing above head and off into the distance, and you know at this point your journey is south. My question to you is, there are 3 paths that you can take. You can take the way of water. So you could either hire a barge to take you southward. You could go make your way back out to Wilderland, make your way down along the outside, along the western eaves, and then duck back in towards Roscabel. Or you could walk all the way there. There is a path that allows you to walk within the trees of Mirkwood down south. Essentially, that's going to take you different times to get there. The quickest one is going to be the waterway, most likely. As that does eventually make its way over to down to around where the Black Tarn is.
Quick question.
Yes.
Weren't we going to be going with Engelmer?
If indeed you want to go specifically with Inglemer, you can. 100%.
Because I figure he would know the quickest route, or he's done this before, a lot.
This could be something though that he sets to the group of you which path you want to go. Either one is fine with him, as he knows all of the passages and all of the routes. He wants to take all of your feelings into account as far as where you're going. You have left yourself 6 days in order to get there. If you take the water route and you do hire a barge to get down there, that will take you 3 days of barging to get down there. If you walk there, that's going to take you the full 6 days. And then if you walk out along the side of Wilderland, if you walk through the trees, that will take you 4 days to make your way down there.
I vote walking.
Just the 6 days walking, or the
6 days?
Either way.
Or 5 days.
I mean, the 4 days
4
makes
days.
sense, but either.
Hobbits
She
don't
just
like water, so...
But Theatrix,
Don't
do you
wanna-
want to go within the woods themselves? I know you haven't had great experiences in there.
I imagine if it's a short trip with the woodmen who know what they're doing, I'm sure we'll be fine.
I would say the only way I'd be not willing to take, just because it doesn't give us much time in case there's a hang-up of sorts, is the outside path. But I'd rather get there as swiftly as possible. So I'm all for the barge, but I'm also for walking through the woods if that's what you so care to do.
I guess we're gonna go through the woods then.
To grandmother's house.
Yeah,
Grandmother's house.
the 4 days of
At home before dark.
With this is going to be the beginning of a new adventure. You can go ahead and have the full heal if you haven't done so yet. Reset everything, as it were, as the full rest. Because of Valinith's final check, you all have successfully unlocked Woodland Hall as a sanctuary. You may stop by here anytime, spend a night of rest here. Well, technically it's a 24 hours of rest here, and you will gain the benefits of a long rest at any point here. But also, that includes you, Feanor, and everything, but we are going to go ahead and start travel rolls. So we have the guide, the scout, the hunter, and the lookout.
I'll add, Feanor will just take whatever one is left because he is not there. So you guys choose what one is one. He's
That's
just
totally fine.
Yeah,
That's totally fine.
I'm not being the lookout, guys. I don't know what to say.
I'm assuming. Well, I guess it makes most sense in. I don't know if we're going to be doing it from a roleplay standpoint. We're just kind of going to leave the hunter alone because we've all got rations and we're well stocked. So I guess Theodric's happy to be lookout. Like Valinith's obviously the best at being a guide.
What's the scout?
The scout is based off of stealth and investigation. So they're they're basically they're the ones that are like, if you hear anything, if you perceive anything, they're the ones that go off to be able to like look to see like what is going on and like, you know, be
Yeah,
the
okay.
kind of person to see what's going to be happening. You also have to take into
Yeah.
consideration on your journey the lands that you are going through as well. There might be some places that are maybe of certain stats, so you're not always like stagnantly like in certain areas. Like, for example, in this case, it might make sense for Feanor to be the guide, as he does know these lands. He literally has spent his time
Mm.
figuring these lands out. Or like if it was like across Wilderland, Valinith also probably would know that, as he traversed a lot of that trying to find his father. Where maybe out in kind of like the grasslands, it would make sense for Theodric to be more of a hunter on Barad-dûr, because that's what he's more used to in Wilderland. Whatever you guys kind of think. As of now, you know that this journey is taking you south within Mirkwood, but it could also potentially take you into Wilderland too. So with that in mind, you guys can go ahead and choose whichever rules you think are fit for you. For that.
If he's do want to leave guide, like if that's what he's decide, because he's traveling with someone who knows where they're going, that would be like Feanor could fit in any of them. But like I said, I will let you
what
guys
is
choose.
lookout? What's the stat for lookout?
Perception.
Oh, I'll be a lookout. Then,
Okay.
if that's the case, yeah. If we want to leave that for him,
Hunter's survival, isn't it, or is it?
Hunter is survival primarily.
Okay, well I'll go hunter then, because
Yeah, okay.
I have a very high survival.
And Jess,
My
are you okay with Scout?
investigation isn't great, but myself is pretty good, so
Pretty good with you good with stealth then?
pretty good. Yeah, with like double proficiency, you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Cool. So you want to go ahead and jump into the scout roll. All right.
by the way, guys, with that armor that I got a sweet 15 armor class now.
Hey,
Getting a little
Hey.
thicker. Getting a little bit thicker.
Cool.
matching Feanor's armor now. Good job.
Hey.
And then he puts on his shield.
+2.
See, I need a shield just to get to that level, so
Right.
that's okay. I'm sneaky.
Exactly. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start our journey. We're gonna jump over to you in a second, Nick, but I'm going to actually
That's fine.
have you make a journey events roll. Not journey events, but your departure roll. So this is going to kind of determine how this adventure is going to be starting for you going forward. So
Let's get advantage on every roll till we fail again. Woo!
Oh,
That was a
yeah.
great one.
That was a pretty good one. Let's see.
I'd like that.
I'm gonna have you roll for me a D12, and then you are going to add your proficiency bonus to that, to that roll, and then based off of that, we're gonna go ahead and figure out what your journey events is. Your embarkation,
Okay, who was that for again? Sorry, Feanor.
Feanor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's guide, of course.
Wait.
D12 plus your
Yeah,
proficiency.
Yeah. What is our proficiency modifier at this point?
2.
I actually can't see it on my screen. Okay, so I got a 10.
A 10. All right. So essentially, you have a +1 to all rolls on the journey events table when we get there. First roll in each event is made with advantage. So, like, for example, if you come across a like an orc camp or something, the first roll for all of you guys is, and it's not one of you each, it's like the first roll in that encounter, whoever's making it is going to be at advantage. So, super duper cool. You guys are leaving in pretty good spirits. Theodric, you are thinking about, just what you had heard in your dreams. I don't know how much during this journey you're going to be talking to your companions about that, Ingolmer, whoever the case. We'll get back to that. But let's go ahead and jump over to Feanor as the group of you start making your way south to Roscoveld.
Yeah. As a note, Kyle, I want to tell you now not to derail. But when we get to it, Jess will like to talk to you in Velma, please and thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll have some time. We'll do a little bit of jumping back and forth till you guys all meet together. Feanor, so you have spent the better part of 3 or 4 days already in the Black Tarn. You have taught some of the people some of your building skills and building habits. Can you remind me what the result of your roll at the end of the last session was?
Natural 20.
Natural 20. So that's pretty sick. You did a very good job of doing so. In fact, you actually were able to show them the right types of trees specifically to hew and cut down. They were just kind of clearing out everything around in their area in order to build. They're looking for rapid expansion. And one of the things as you were helping them out that is quite confusing to you as well is you kind of perceived the fact that there's lots of food, there's lots of materials, lots of sources, but there's not a lot of people. Why are they in such a hurry to build all these houses? And this is something that's kind of percolating in the back of your mind as you begin helping them decide which trees in order to hew in order to build some of these basically lodgings that they're trying to set up. So do with that information what you will.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just, sorry, very quickly, I'm just trying to pull up my thing so I have the correct. So while I'm here in this town helping people, I'd want to be talking to Emily Oda, specifically about, like, it's like, yeah, she said that this place was, Emily Oda, I've noticed that as much as you said that these lands are flourishing when I first arrived,
Yes.
there seems to be a lack of people. I would have thought that this area is quite nice, you know, it's got a good lake and a good supply of fish, and the path is reasonably well traveled. Why aren't there many people down here in the Black Tarn?
It takes her a moment to respond to you, but you have been very helpful to her. It's taken her, one of the things that you notice is it's taken her quite a bit of time to actually open up to you. She's kind of just been watching you and observing you to see how you're, interacting with the people of the Black Tarn. But as you are obviously proving very useful and very helpful, not asking really of anything in return, she has opened up to you to the point where she feels like she could be a little bit vulnerable about her situation. She says, Feanor, the only elves that I've really had contact with during our time here have been the River Maidens, and they've been quite useful and helpful indeed, and it's been only in recent years that they've, even come back to the Black Tarn. As I had mentioned, there's bountiful food. It's quite safe. But it wasn't always this way. 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, the Black Tarn, it was home to a number of pestilent frogs. Frogs that no matter how much we tried to get rid of, continuously found their way to our water source in the south. Plague swept through our people. We were once a thriving community. Pretty much our only way of surviving is off of the lake. We've turned to hunting in those past years, but there was always something that was heavy that was dwelling on Mirkwood, that was dwelling on our town. And seemingly out of nowhere, coinciding almost with the fall of the dragon, our waters cleared. There was an abundance of life, abundance of fish. Nobody from the other woodmen's settlements wanted to make their way over to live in the Black Tarn, as we were just barely making it through, barely making ends meet. We're simple fishermen. We weren't meant for anything outside of that, and clearly our trade is being used in abundance these days. But we're hoping, perhaps with a little bit of convincing, to rebuild. I don't know how much you know about the Woodmen and of the Folk-moot, but we meet every year, all of the Woodmen communities. And Rowanhold and myself have recently been invited. I've been for the past 3 years, Rowanhold for, well, this will be their first. Well, I guess it's their second year.
Yes, actually, I do know Galavira. I was actually, yes, I came across Rowanhold when it was actually itself under dark times. Um, I'm not sure if you heard, but they were dealing with situations with wargs and even goblins, perhaps. Perhaps something by the name of Grey Muzzle Hob. This is some time back, but after my time there and after helping them with this issue, the town has grown. And it was good to see them again and to see how that place had evolved and changed. And this, you're right, this place here does seem pretty safe and fairly bountiful. And potentially, when I see you at the Folk-moot, this is something that you can ask some of the other leaders of the communities about.
Something you said there piqued her interest. I'm pretty sure you caught up on it.
I have been personally invited by Ngolma. I provided him with reunited him with a personal artifact for his family house. And I've just been on my way through these lands trying to help where I can. I know that you were more guarded when I arrived, and that is fair. I am a stranger who has entered your home. But if there's anything that you can ask of me that I can help you with in the next few days, beyond what I've already been able to do, I will do it. Before I move my way on towards Ruskabel. I plan to be there for a little while before the Folk-moot to see if there's anything I can do to help them prepare.
She kind of chuckles to herself and says, I have never met anyone like the likes of you. I understand that you elves are long-lived. Are you helping us out because of boredom or something? And she just continues to like rack her brain. Everybody seems so preoccupied and busy with the rebuildings of their lands and everything, and I've never met someone that has the skills that you have acquired and, well, hasn't stayed and, well, helped some of these other cultures. Clearly you're helping us out quite a bit, but I've never heard of a traveling architect? Traveling hunter?
I'm a woodwright by trade. A life in the Mirkwoods, and believe me, I understand that relatively, my 101 years is long by the standards of men. But I am still very young for an elf, and not many view the many races of Middle Earth the way I do. I believe that all life is precious, and that perhaps the most noble thing one can do is defend those who cannot defend themselves from whatever shadow may overcome the land. And if I can make my way through the Wilderland, through Mirkwood, all the way up to Dale, and even out further west and east, if I can help just a little bit and save a handful of lives, then I've done my part. I've been able to make a change.
Feanor, that's quite a noble cause you have there. And she looks a little bit concerned. If you would like,
And
you
then
can make an insight check, if you would like to.
Yeah, it'll make a little insight check. A 5. He said but before, like, because just while he's talking, he's still gonna be like, and to answer your question, no, it wasn't out of boredom. I feel like where I'm from is also very dangerous, and if it was merely boredom that was beseeching me, then I think I would want to try and enjoy that life if boredom was truly the worst that anyone had to deal with.
Your words ring true. But Feanor, of course we appreciate your help, and the fact that you've already ingratiated yourself with Galavira in Golmer, Well, and myself. Don't overextend yourself. I've seen what a benevolent heart can do. And I've seen what shadows it invites. Well, if there's one warning that I will give you, the more good you do, the more the world knows your name and your deeds. The greater the hunter, the greater the shadow that hunts you.
Oh, I appreciate the concern, but the shadow's been hunting me for quite a while, and it hasn't caught back up with me yet.
Well,
If I can make a
see
change, if I can make a change before that happens, then I'm happy. There is actually perhaps one thing that I may ask of you from my time here.
Ask
and
away.
this is
You've
probably
already done so
and
much for us.
this is probably something that he would have briefly spoken to Galavira about, and you obviously can determine how successful that was.
Mhm.
When we arrive at the Folk-moot, I will admit I am not super familiar on your customs, but I do know that matters of importance are discussed. My hope is that you might support me in what I have to say there. I want the the Wilderlands to essentially have a standing force, a standing army. That is, sole purpose is to train and is to help defend these lands. The Bjornings are doing well, but eventually, if something comes that can overpower them, they're going to need all the support they can. And I would like your voice to be backing me in that.
You can make a persuasion check for me. This is going to be at +2.
An 11.
11. We are entering years of peace. And Feanor, I think I at least understand what you're asking. You're preparing us, and I can see, for the worst that's potentially to come. I'm not going to say either way about whether I 100% am on board with your plan as making a standing force. I will say that the woodmen are united to a degree. But you're asking fishermen to stand and be warriors. I want you to understand one thing, Feanor. Yes, we might be willing to train and stand against the darkness, but we have matters at home that we need to attend to. We're just beginning to rebuild. I will say this. If you can make your case in front of the council, while maybe the people of the Black Tarn might not be as much help as maybe some of the other settlements. Well, Mountain Hall, they're steadfast warriors. They serve as a bulwark against the goblins of the Misty Mountains. And Golmer, he was once a great warrior that stood in fierce oppositions to the wargs and goblins of the forest. The people of Woodman Town, they're young. It's not a very long-lived town in my eyes, in the eyes of the woodmen. And clearly Galavira has her wits about her. From what you've told me, you've helped her quite a bit. If you could convince the council, or at least plead your case, I will not go against what you are saying. And perhaps if there is proper support, I might be persuaded. You've already captivated me to a degree, Feanor. You've piqued my interest. You've piqued the interest of the people of the Black Tarn. We understand that you are a worthwhile servant, not to anybody in particular, but a servant for good. And we accept your services. I consider you a friend. But I also cannot commit to overextending ourselves when we're not going to have the support to grow, which is exactly the reason of why I plan on bringing this up. Between us, I plan on asking the overabundance of woodmen in Woodman Town, Woodland Hall, perhaps Roscabel and even Mountain Hall, for those of who are maybe seeking a new life to venture out here to the Black Tarn. I want to build a settlement. Much more than what they have at Rowanhold. Something akin to something that you could see at Woodman Town. We have the resources clearly to be able to make such a thing, and this is my dream. If we can make this dream a reality, I could 100% be on board with your request. We can dedicate some of our resources to building a force to be able to support this army that you're speaking of. But for now, perhaps that's a long time coming. And depending on the results of what happens at the Folk-moot, I can persuade my decision either way. I hope you understand.
No, I do, and I know that what I am asking is not something that an outsider would generally voice, but don't sell yourself in like the Black Tarn short. It is the people that make a land, and the land that makes their people. You have abundance here, and support will flow. If anything, if I might offer my opinion, even if what I ask for is too much, perhaps set up perhaps some trade with some of the other towns, and in exchange for some of your resources, they help you maintain a better safety on the roads and a better structure. Perhaps you may even be able to hire some dwarves to be able to help with river crossings and build bridges and paths. That ease of access to this place will only make it more likely that this place will grow. And the safer it is, the more this place will expand. Do what you need to keep your people safe. You are still a young town, and I understand if you cannot support me. But thank you for keeping an open mind.
Well, your kindness is... well, it's commendable. Feanor, we're not going to just accept your generosity to us and not give you anything in return. Again, as I had mentioned, we do have an abundance. If there is anything that you need of us that we can provide here and now, ask away. We will consider your offer, and perhaps with events to come, we can make an answer to that offer. But in the meantime, we are grateful to you. We are grateful to your friendship with the Woodmen as a whole. And I will keep these ideas percolating in the back of my mind. It gives me hope for a new future for the Black Tarn, one that I've been dreaming up for some time. And finally, it feels like we're on the precipice of being able to make it a reality. And she sighs kind of a little bit of, in some longing, a little bit of relief. Thank you. Thank you so much for all that you've done for us. Feel free to stay for as long as you want, but upon our departure, do know I look forward to meeting you again at Roscabel, at the Folk-moot.
Feanor's gonna have he's gonna like nod, and he's gonna have a little look at the town and see like buildings being constructed, you know, like new fisheries and stuff, and different huts and hunting stuff, and he's like, I will look forward to meeting with you again, and I can't wait to see what this place is like in 100 years.
She laughs. If only I were there to enjoy it, but that's what we're building towards. We're building towards a future, and we're planning to build a future here. But
I
until
hope
then...
that I'll be able to come back and see your grandchildren, and see their children.
She laughs, and she shakes her heads. She shakes her head. You're a curious one. I look forward to, getting to know you. and those who keep close to you, much better. And with that,
I cannot. Yeah. He's just going to say, I cannot speak for all of my kin, but I consider you and your people elf friend.
that has a ring to it. And with that, we're going to go ahead and fade to black. Was there anything mechanically that you wanted to accomplish here before moving on?
The only thing that Phanos really keeping an eye out for is really like well-made armor in a place like this. Probably not particularly. Probably like saw what they had on offer, so they like had a lot of food and resources. He'd probably pack up on what rations he could. You know, like just as much like fish and stuff. And he's probably also
that is
on
something
the,
that they are
yeah.
very willing to give, as
Yeah.
that's something that she actually asked, is like if there's anything that we can do,
Yeah.
and they have quite an abundance. You will go ahead and add to your inventory 6 rations. Basically, this will just be like dried fish, but 6 rations.
Yep. And Fëanor is going to see if one thing they will let him do, having helped construct the building as it is if he can carve in Cinderin his own name and like the name of like the leader of the town and like even the name of the town itself on the main pillars that hold up the door frames.
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
its place. And he's going to rub like soot into it so it like darkens it as well. But more or less, yeah, like marking more or less Fëanor was here on the door for anyone that comes by. But just as like a little detail for them to remember him by.
And they allow that. If anything, Ameliota, she welcomes it, and she actually has a lot of her other builders do the same in all the buildings that they construct. And hence, this has become an established custom for the new buildings that are being constructed. I love it. But
Hell
yes,
yeah.
without much time, you start packing your things up and making your way northward again towards Woodman Town, which is it's been a little over a year since you visited here. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that. Let's go ahead and jump back to Valna, Theodric, and Jess. You have made your way on the road about 2 days in. Jess, you finally get the opportunity to be able to pull aside Ingolmer and have a little chat. It's been relatively peaceful up until this point. Actually, it feels more just like a casual saunter through a very pleasant wood. This is not the Mirkwood that you are used to. Well, I guess
not used to
Valineth and
Mirkwood at all.
Theodric, yeah. Yes, this just seems like a casual saunter through the wood.
Yeah, of course. This is fine. Nothing bad ever happens in the Mirkwood. Awesome. So I'll just go up to Ingolmer and say, how are you finding the travels, Sir Ingolmer?
Quite uneventful, Jess, but I will have to say, your cooking is more than acceptable. We should teach Conrad a thing or two down at the Wolf and Mead. A thing about cooking. He makes good mead, but his food could perhaps use a little bit more spice. But perhaps we could talk about that another time. It seems you have some kind of inquiry for me. How can I be of assistance?
Okay. Well, yes, I certainly hope you can be of assistance, or rather, I might be of assistance to you. I came across these rather rough-looking individuals when I was in the marketplace. And they happen to have this on them, and I'll pull out the bit of parchment, the original, not the copy. They were speaking of goblins and treasure hoards, and from what I can understand of this, potentially attacking dwarves on the road. And I'll hand him the parchment.
He takes a look at it and he flips it over and sees the text. Flips it back over and stares at you.
I thought it should be brought to your attention as this may pose a potential threat
Well,
to
you
the
see,
people of Wood.
absolutely, the height of summer is, well, it welcomes all kinds of people to Woodman Town. Fortunately, we've been quite lucky this past summer of not having too much trouble. These individuals that you speak of, and he is continuing to examine this map, these individuals that you speak of, did they have any markings, anything of the sort, to distinguish them from any of the people of Woodman Town, or Woodland Hall?
Yeah, I'll give them a description of what they look like,
Mhm.
as best as I can remember.
Well, you see, while my people have not been dealing with goblins for quite some time, thanks to Rowanhold, there's always the fair share of brigands on the road, outlaws, you would say, always looking to make a easy penny, a quick bit of coin. From what the looks of this is, this looks like a very poorly thought out plan, and the dealings with, I'm not quite sure. He looks at like the text and the reading, not understanding what this is saying per se, but he looks down at the signatures that are on the bottom of this paper, and he sees, but that is a name of interest, and he reads Voltaire.
I have read the writing on there. I had Valineth make a copy of it, as to secure it.
Someone was able to read this. He looks shocked, surprised.
It took him 3 days to figure that out. I was heartily impressed. He is a man of scholarly talents, Valineth.
As I've noticed. I think he knows more about the history of my people than I do at this point.
Well, he is 78 years old.
I will say, it's quite a bit of time, more than I have here on this Middle Earth.
And I, probably. The two of us combined, I dare say.
I dare say.
But yes, as to what it says, essentially it boils down to bring us things, we pay you well. Bring us dwarves and dwarf gold, they're very tasty. Goblins always keep their promises or something, I'm sure that was mentioned in there. And there's also mention of a horde as well.
Dealings with goblins. I must say, the outlaws that you got this from must be quite desperate if they're doing dealings with goblins.
Yes, there was some debate that I overheard of whether or not the goblins could be trusted.
The fact that there's even debate, that just shows me, well, these outlaws are as good as dead. Between us, you can never trust a goblin in any of the words that they say. The second you turn your back, they will put a rusted blade in your spine. If they're seeking, perhaps, reward, and if this is indeed a contract, it's as good as dissolved before it was even signed. This name, though, Voltaire, this is of concern. This is not a name that is known amongst the woodman communities as being one of our descent. Voltaire actually comes from the Dalish dialect. And there's been rumors of a man south of here who perhaps is causing a little bit of trouble, stirring up some ruckus at some of the southerly settlements. Not settlements of our people, but I have kept my eye on the comings and goings, the people here and there. And Fridwald, you'll meet him actually at Roskabel. But Fridwald, his information is good. And from what he's told me, well, there's a group of brigands that are trying to make a name for themselves down south. Usually they're unorganized and quite, well, not a threat. Especially with the Beornings. The Beornings are protecting Wilderland quite a bit, and I do find that that's probably the reason they haven't made their way more northernly. But, it's good to know that this is the attention. If they are turning towards goblins, I will find that perhaps they're, well, they don't have a lot of friends as of this point. They're most likely weak. I wouldn't worry about them too much, but this, and he points to the map, this is interesting. If this is to point to some kind of treasure, X marks the spot, hoard of some kind. Well, I'm not one to go off and seeking riches elsewhere. I find riches in family, you know that, of course, and I understand you as well, but goblin gold and dwarven treasures of ancient renowned children's stories, I would say. But this does promise adventure, I would say, for those who are willing to uphold it and those willing and strong enough to be able to take it upon themselves. But keep this to yourself. This is a contract, clearly, and this in the wrong hands could, well, for better or for worse, spread word of Voltaire's intentions. Keep this close to your chest.
Would it not be of concern that this Voltaire is trying to gain favor among mercenary types?
Perhaps. And he thinks for a moment. The thing about goblins is doing dealings with goblins is you have to be truly desperate to have a dealing with a goblin. As I had mentioned before, it usually ends up to be being backstabbed, and if they're doing so, I have a hunch Voltaire will be probably not much of an issue for long. Goblins have always been an issue. You'll meet Hardfast. He's the chieftain of Mountain Hall. He's dealt with them for quite some time, and he's kept his mountain stronghold safe from goblins, but they are an ever-pressing threat. One that I do find we probably will never truly completely get rid of. After the Battle of the Five Armies, goblins went crawling back into their filthy holes. And they are, well, perhaps the goblins are desperate, which is why they are making contract with humans. So I could also see maybe this wasn't instigated by Voltaire, but rather by goblins. Quite curious indeed. We should leave this on thought. If this is something that you feel could be brought up and perhaps discussed at the Folk-moot, that might be a time to be able to bring this up. Well, the name Voltaire isn't unknown to us. He has been a problem, but it's been a problem we've been able to squelch. Perhaps it is time to, well, snuff out the flames of resistance before they even begin. They have proven difficult in the past, but not completely deadly, dangerous. But thank you for bringing this to my attention. I do consider you and your company's friends, and the fact that you found something of interest from the hands of Voltaire himself, well, perhaps maybe not from Voltaire, but from his goons. Well, he's seeking to expand, and that's something that is a problem.
Alright, yeah, I'll just add, Well, I have never been to the Folk-moot, and I am reluctant to get into. I'm reluctant to get involved too much in places I've had very little hand in or knowledge of. I will defer to your expertise in this matter. If you think that it is something that should be brought up, if it's of legitimate concern, then I will certainly do so.
You are friends to us at Woodland Hall. Yes, perhaps the news that you bring from afar, news that you bring from distant lands might not concern us as much. And in regards to diplomacy, well, I will consider your input as a group valid. But this was found within my own lands. This was found within my own walls. This is of concern. I do appreciate your deference to my thoughts. But I'm glad that you brought this ahead of time. The worst thing to do is to blindside the other settlements with issues that perhaps they don't need to know about. I will think about this for some time, but for now, this is a problem between Woodland Hall and the people, well, and you, of course, and us. So thank you for bringing this to my attention.
Of course. And she will bow out of that conversation very graciously.
Theodric Valineth, on the road, is there anything else that you want to discuss amongst yourselves, amongst Ingolmer, anybody of the... I guess it's just all of you, that you want to quickly ask any questions before making your way to the Folk-moot?
I don't think there are any questions, but as Engelmer and Jessamine are having their conversation up ahead, Theodric is going to just kind of just have a chat with Valineth about his dream, and just kind of get his input on that.
Yeah. And Valineth speaks up. My input indeed. I think you know, Theodric, what myself and Feanor's thoughts on this rage lust. This doesn't seem to be just a dream, my friend. I think you should be taking this quite seriously.
I was worried you were going to say that. It's concerning seeing so many orcs in my dream. Seeing Rohan laid to waste, seeing the Wilderland being overrun, but most of all seeing the White City itself burning. Is it wrong of me to believe and hope that these things won't come to pass in my own lifetime?
It is a rarity, I should say. The only living beings who I've known who've had the ability to, see the future, I guess, is the Lady Galadriel. Have you heard of her? She's of my kin. She's from Lothlorien, actually not too far from here. But a powerful elf she is, and as old as Middle-earth itself. With great power comes great responsibility, my friend. I'd like to believe that these dreams, these premonitions of sorts, won't come to pass, but I don't think we can be so sure until those events come to pass.
It just worries me because Middle-earth isn't ready. None of us are ready for what I saw. What can man do in the face of such reckless hate?
Well, I don't know about what man can do, what elves can do. But, as King Bard said, we must hold out against the shadow, even if it brings death upon us. And whatever it takes, even if I die trying, I will fight to make sure that doesn't happen.
I don't fear dying in battle. I fear, I don't know, becoming something worse. Becoming something akin to what I see in my dreams. Becoming something ruled by that anger and that bloodlust that I feel sometimes.
I feel like, Theodric, we all get angry. Even myself, I get angry, of course. I don't think it's the anger that you need to worry about so much as much as the source of it. Have you found out much more about the source of it?
I don't know. There's a lot pointing towards it being part of my bloodline, being part of who I am. And I have so many questions that just haven't been answered yet. And it feels like the closer I get, the more questions there are. But I believe, and some of what Engelmer has told me points towards perhaps I'm descended of, I don't know, the people of House Heleth.
Hmm.
And it says that uh, I've heard that they're gone. They used to live at the foot of Mount Gundabad.
Well, Theodric, I will say, I know you view this as a curse yourself. And I definitely feel like it could be a curse. I can't even imagine. I mean, us elves, we don't dream. Of course, we reflect on things, but being riddled by these nightmares, it can't be easy on you, my friend. But maybe it's divine providence in a way by you having these dreams. Maybe because you're having these dreams, we can affect change here on Middle Earth. You know, the old adage of growing from your weakness and turning it into a strength. Maybe that's something we can focus on, turning this bloodlust, this anger, into a strength of yours. Not for hurting others, but for protecting others. I don't know how you'd go about that, but I'll do what I can to assist you in such a cause, if that's something you'd be up to doing.
Thank you for your support, Valineth. Who knows? Hopefully, Lord Heartfast will be willing and able to help me do such a thing.
Well, I guess if one thing comes out of this conversation, my friend, it's don't be so hard on yourself. I know you have a lot to worry about, but the future's the future. And we can't change what we can't change what's to come. Even if we know what's to come. That's bigger than all of us together. All we can do is what we can do to achieve a better future and to fight back the shadow. And rely on your friends, of course. I mean, you have myself and Feanor. Speaking of which, hopefully he actually meets us at this Folk-moot. It's been a while since we've been in contact with him, but of course Jessamine too. We have lots of friends that we can rely on. So just never forget that.
That's true. As for Feanor, I'm sure he'll amble along and arrive when we least expect him to.
I just hope that this venturing out on his own wasn't the end of him. I worry for that young buck, I'll tell you. Though he's old in years, oh man, he act like a young buck, that's for sure. I just hope that he doesn't get himself into any trouble. I trust him, but I don't know. It just feels like everywhere he goes on his own, trouble follows.
Cuts to
Yes.
Feanor being impaled by like an orc. Ah!
Yes, Feanor does have the knack for getting into trouble, but he always comes back home hale and hearty, so
Let's hope that luck
let's hope that...
continues.
Yes, exactly.
Cuts to Feanor getting a free bag of fish.
Yeah, fish.
Cool.
All right, and with that, you continue on the road. Feanor, it is still a decent amount of time, probably about 2 weeks before the actual Folk-moot, and Without much trouble, you have made your way into all the way up north into Woodman Town. It's exactly as if you've remembered. If anything, it's actually probably grown a little bit. You see all the regulars that you became acquainted with during your short stay there, and you begin to kind of feel this odd sense of relaxation as well. Is there anything specifically that you want to accomplish here?
At
I
the
think
at the
I yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If Fridwold is here,
Mhm.
I would want to have a conversation with him.
Mhm.
Like I said, with Emily Oda, I was talking about supporting the idea of a standing army. Like I said, he would have brought it up to Gala Vera. Like I said, I don't know. Like, he would have just brought it up.
Mhm.
But he wants to try and talk to Fridwold, and he's probably going to spend a lot of his time going around town because I think, if I remember correctly, he was spending some time training some of the younger hunters and stuff here when he was originally here.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to go around and see like how they are, what progress they've made, who's around town, and kind of just reacquaint himself with people.
Mhm.
And if he can, whoever seems like they're kind of in charge, he wants to be kind of surveying what defenses the town's got. If they've improved, if they're deteriorating,
Mhm.
like just because we're in a time of peace, you can't let the walls fall down.
Absolutely.
Um,
Couple of things. One, Gayla Vera, she would have mentioned that she is completely in your debt. Not only had they kidnapped you, but also they relied on you while being captors or being your captor to save them from a terrible beast that they were paying tribute to, and you have come back and helped them rebuild and help their military. If you are bringing anything up at the Folk-moot, she's going to be 100% behind you. I'm going to have you make a either a persuasion check or just a straight charisma check for me, as you are in this area in Woodman Town.
I got a 0.
I
I have not been doing well.
A 0. Um,
Yeah.
it is much the same, but unfortunately, you're not able to really see a bunch of people, as there are a number that actually have left and have started making their way down to Roscabel. So chances are you're probably going to be able to see them there. And one of the people that you are not actually able to meet with is Fridwold. Chances are you're not going to be able to meet with him before the actual Folk-moot. One thing you do know about Fridwold is he actually is nicknamed Fridwold the Runner. He's elected as kind of the official of Woodman Town and the Folk-moot, but he's constantly on the road. This man lives on the road, even for his like slightly elderly age. He has been known to make haste between Mountain Hall, between all of the settlements. Basically, he's the telegram person. He is the mailman from the Legend of Zelda series. He does all of the things that people need to know in order to keep immediate news within all of the major settlements. So he actually wasn't there. I will say, though, as you are here, you are able to meet a couple of people that... and then they basically treat you to a meal and bid you on your way. You're not able to discover pretty much anything here.
Yeah. The town seems to be doing well.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, and probably might spend a couple days around in the area. Actually, one thing he will do while he's in this space is he is going to, maybe on one of those mornings that he's here, and probably like the 2 days that he's here, he's going to wander off into the woods to the clearing where he first found Nim.
Yes. I'm gonna have you make a nature or a survival check for me.
I was doing bad all day. I got an 11.
11. Without much trouble, you're able to find your way there. And upon making your way out over here, you actually see, laying beneath the very same tree, a much healthier looking, unnetted Nim. As almost as if he was expecting you to meet him in this space. It's tranquil, it's beautiful, it's crazy to think that it's only been a little over a year since the two of you have met. And you've already made so many memories, gone through so much danger together. But this is definitely a place of respite and peace. And I'm gonna say you probably spend the better half of like half a day, even into the evening, in this location, just kind of taking it all in. There's not anything that disturbs you from your moment, but feel free to reflect on whatever you wish to reflect upon.
Something he might, because Nim was caught up like in a tree and the net, wasn't he? Like
He
he'd
was
gotten,
netted
like,
on the ground.
on the ground. Okay. Yeah. Just kind of like in the spot where he's at. Feanor's gonna be like kind of sitting there. Nim's just gonna be like chilling, laying down. Well, buddy, I know that. You know. Actually, how old is Nim? Can like Feanor kind of have a look, like see like the size of him, see how old roughly is?
Make a nature check for me.
Yeah. A natural 20 for 21. Yeah, it comes in good.
From what you're able to tell, he seems to be in the prime of his life. Just kind of on the brink of like full adulthood. And perhaps you saving him was kind of his first induction into adulthood as a buck. So he's not that old. Probably, I don't know how long deers live, but he's just on the brink of adulthood.
Yeah. Well, Nim, I've always thought of us as a bit of kindred spirits. I'm glad that I found you, and we seem to be very similar. Yeah. I really don't know how much you can understand of what I'm saying, but I know it runs deeper. It's gonna be sad one day when I no longer have you around, but he gives him a little pat. If any day you feel like you need to come back here and you need to be back in these woods, you can go. I won't stop you.
You can see
This is your
him
home.
as he lays down. He kind of like turns his head towards you as you peer into his gray eyes. I'm gonna have you make a perception check or insight check for me.
A 6.
He seems comfortable. You're unsure if it's comfortable with being here, your current state, your situation. To be honest, it's kind of a mystery. You definitely have grown a connection to him, and the thing that really you can tell is he's appreciating the moment with you. It is beautiful. Again, it's one of those spaces where it's this very small clearing where you can actually see the sky through the canopy of Mirkwood. You can see butterflies dancing off in the distance. As evening begins to fall, fireflies begin to take their place. The normal sounds of nature off in the distance. Sounds that would normally spook a deer. He remains perfectly calm next to you. The evening draws on before you finally get up and spend your last night in Woodman Town. He gives you kind of this nudge. I'm gonna have you make an insight check for me.
A 19.
There's an understanding. There's a deep bond that has grown between the two of you. But your understanding is this is home, but wherever you go, I will follow. And
Yeah, Feanor's gonna give him a big scratch and gonna rub down some of his scars and maybe even like reach up to his face and maybe like to a shoulder or something and maybe rub some of his own. And he's like, through thick and thin, bud. Come on, Nim. Let's go.
And you do so. You make your way back to the town before the morning comes and you start making your way down to Roscabel a week before the Folk-moot, so you can spend some time there and perhaps get to know the people of Roscabel. A day passes, Valineth and Theodric and Jess. You're on your third day, and you're beginning to set up camp for the night. You find this small, kind of roadside area, kind of akin to a small clearing. And you begin to set up camp. In Golmer, he rests his head on a rock. The things that he's done to make himself comfortable during this trip, you just cannot understand. This is a man who, especially to you, Jess, you look at like how cozy he is, like laying down on like literally a bed of rocks and using like a boulder as a pillow. Like this is something that's just like. But he's
A
totally
real
fine.
man.
Yeah, he is the bushman. But he's like naturally comfortable. You could even like sit him like on the side of a tree. Doesn't matter where. He could sleep anywhere. But he rests. He rests, and you guys fill your bellies with a nice meal for the evening. And you begin kind of discussing amongst yourselves the events ahead. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about amongst yourselves before moving forward? Oh, can't hear you, Jess.
Well, I thought I unmuted myself, but I muted myself. Classic. So does anyone have any plans for the Folk-moot?
I do believe I do need to. I will be taking part in the Folk-moot, and hopefully I'll be able to get an audience with Lord Heartfast.
That's sweet.
Oh, can't hear you, Dain.
It's going around. It's an epidemic.
It's
I'm
infectious.
along.
Everyone's
It's infectious.
speechless.
I'm along for the ride. However, if anyone needs any assistance in anything, I've been studying quite a lot about the lore of things, and I know quite a bit about the woodmen. So, if anyone has any questions, maybe I'd be able to answer such things, or even give a outsider's look on it as well. So, there's nothing in particular I'm looking for aside from how are we going to stop the impending shadow. What about you, Jess?
I've heard Feanor talk about this before, and I didn't quite understand it at the time, but it seemed like the wrong time to ask. What is shadow? Like, obviously I know what shadows are, you just seem to be talking about in a different context than I'm used to. Am I missing something?
I mean, literally, it is the opposite of light, right? So, of course, as living creatures, and being an elf, we come from the light. All living creatures come from the light. And those that are cast in shadow oppose the light, if that makes sense. Shadow itself.
I believe what
the-
Valineth is trying to say is generally when we speak of the shadow, we mean the servants of Morgoth. You know, orcs, goblins, evil men. Those who shun the light of the Valar and work towards the death and destruction of everything good in Middle-earth.
Valineth is impressed by this response. He's like, "Wow, Theodric, you've been taking a leaf out of my notebook. I see. Good on you, buddy."
You look, he's literally reading from your journal, like, oh yeah, this is what he's talking about.
Yeah, and it's written in Sindarin even. Do I know who Morgoth is?
I'm gonna have you make a shadow lore check.
And Valineth
Last
turns to
time
him
I
and he's
did
just like,
this, it
"You
did
see,
not go well."
I see that you, Theodric, you know it well,
Good.
but all living creatures don't necessarily know their history all that well."
Suppose I just thought it was common knowledge, but I guess the people of the Shire have it easy.
They're simple folk, I guess. The Dain are charged with protecting them. And this is
I'm
all
not
going
sure whether
on.
to
This is
be
all going
offended
on.
or not at that remark.
No. I'm whispering this to Theodric.
Make perception
Okay.
check.
Well, I think super hard. Okay. Well, the Shadow Law was 18. If I'm doing perception.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty darn good.
Perception was also 18.
18. So with that Shadow Lord check, you have not had really any experience with anything such as orcs, goblins. If anything, as you were growing up, they were just fairy tales. Things that hobbit parents would tell their kids were lurking out past the borders of the Shire to keep them from having such scandalous thoughts such as adventure. Of course.
Of course.
But with the return of Bilbo Baggins and how he swears upon the fact that he experienced so much goblins, trolls, orcs, wargs, all kinds of nasty things that are out in the world. In regards to Morgoth, this name doesn't ring a bell, but you know that there is definitely evil things, but you've just yet to see it.
Yeah.
As far as your perception check is, yeah, you definitely heard that.
You two are not as subtle as you think you are. I'm not sure whether to be offended or...
Why would you be offended by what we said? We said that you're lucky to live in a land where you've never had to deal with goblins and orcs.
Sometimes
That's something you should be proud of and hold dear to your heart.
Sometimes it's about the way you say things and not what you actually say. And it's clear that you didn't want me to hear about it, so...
Oh, Theodric was not hiding his voice at all.
Oh.
Theodric wasn't like, oh, lucky them. Theodric was like, no, lucky you. Like,
Okay.
I'll trade you. I will trade you. Rohan never deals with orcs and goblins, and we can have the riders of Hobbiton fighting them off. Like,
I would like to see those horses, I mean ponies, that those hobbitins ride on. That'd be majestic, I'm sure.
I think there's only one hobbit in history that's ever ridden a full-sized horse that I can.
I love that story. We've been told it. Golf, right?
Golf indeed, yes. My father often plays now just for sport. It's rather brutish how it came about.
Yeah.
But this name Morgoth, it doesn't ring any bells to me.
And Valnith gives a quick rundown. Basically, there's good and evil. There's the creator gods. Morgoth is the god that turns against, or the Valar that turns against the good ones and makes a mockery of the good and creates the evil, basically.
A quick 6-hour rundown of the entire
history
of Middle Earth.
Actually,
gotta get that similarium.
Some of the stuff that Valinith he definitely goes over you guys' heads, at least parts of it.
Yeah.
But while actually Theodric, you have like some understanding of kind of the creation and everything like that, and you understand like evil. Definitely, Valinith gives you a very, very graduate level course rundown of everything. His years and years of contemplation. He pulls out his notebook and he begins reading specific passages of things that apparently were pronounced by the very firstborn of like the lands of, you know, Valinor and like all that kind of stuff. Like he goes through everything. This, whether you retain it all or not, you have no idea, but at least you kind of have a general idea of who Morgoth is and the evil that exists.
Okay.
As this is happening, each of you, I'm going to have you make a perception checks for me.
Okie dokie.
Good thing.
Like IRL, I'm not quite sure who Morgoth is, so
He was the
all good.
super evil guy.
He created Sauron. That's all you have to know.
Yeah, he's
well,
worse
that's
than Sauron.
fine.
Worse than
He's
Sauron.
essentially
worse than-
Satan. He's Lord of the Rings Satan. That's all you need to know.
Okay,
He had
got
an-
it.
He had an army of Balrogs at his disposal.
Yeah. All the gods were making all the gods were making like
Damn.
dwarves and elves and flowers and hobbits, and he was like, "I'm making Balrogs, I'm making giant spiders, I'm making orcs," and everyone was like, "What are you doing, man?" And he's like, "I'm also making horrible dragons that are gonna eat everything and have fun."
Yeah.
And all the other gods were
I-
kind of a dick.
I need 6 hours of you explaining.
Middle Earth nature documentary.
Abridged.
Yeah, exactly.
By the
Realized
way,
my
Valneth is
favorite.
not doing great. Valneth's not doing great as a lookout. He got a natural 1 for a 6. Sorry, guys.
You're
Theodric's
too
head is-
engrossed in telling the story.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
This is actually at advantage because of the journey roll.
Thank
job,
you.
Feanor.
That's
Thank you,
Rolling from
Feanor.
afar.
Hooray.
Oh, that's a natural 1 for a 6.
I
What?
thought
how did you do that?
I got
Yep,
a
so
it's
you
snake
said
eyes.
it was just one person who got the advantage.
It was for the first.
Yeah, for the lookout.
Oh,
Because there's the yeah,
guys.
so it was the one, but
Sorry,
everyone else
guys.
just gets their normals, whatever the first one to pop up was.
Damn it. We're
Sorry,
all gonna
guys.
die. We're gonna die in an ambush.
For example, I'm just asking Carl to clear up. It'd be like if Theodric went hunting, he would have advantage on his first one, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't
But-
like
yeah.
an
Okay.
encounter or anything like that.
Yeah. It's
event.
to your like skill specific thing. That's,
Yes.
Oh, no.
that's
Now
why,
I understand.
That's why
okay.
he had his advantage and.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
I got an 18.
Whew.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We're relying
Thank
on
you.
you. I got a 4, I believe. No, a 2. I got a 2. I got a natural 1 plus 1.
Sweet.
So
Coming in clutch. We're too busy explaining the history of
Yeah.
Middle Earth to you.
like you're explaining and like my brain just like switches off. I zone out for a couple of seconds and I start looking at the surroundings.
You do. And as you look around, it's pretty peaceful. In Golmer, he's pretty fast asleep, but you actually, Jess, it's not so much you see anything that's off, but outside of just the typical night noises, you can hear something shallow, almost like shallow, quick breaths. Coming from a northern direction from where you are. They seem very faint.
Okay. I like gesture to Valinith and Theodric to just shh.
Oh, sorry. Was I talking too much? I'm sorry. Sometimes when I get... Oh. What's wrong? What's wrong?
You
He's
listen.
looking around.
Do you hear that?
As all of you stop talking, it becomes a little bit more evident to Jess, but yes, Valinith and Theodric, you can barely hear. Just a bit
Wild.
off.
Okay, I'm gonna do my scouting thing, and I'm gonna, like, say to the other two, keep an eye out. And I'm going to sneak and see if I can figure out where the noise is coming from.
Maybe
Fate
Java
was proud of
says-
you, abandoning the party. Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
represent.
Yeah,
Someone has-
represent,
someone-
represent.
Someone has to.
and Valinith is like in a kind. He's slightly afraid of what's going on, but in a brave voice, he's like, "Don't worry, Theodric, stand behind me." And he has a staff out in front. I'll protect you.
Oh boy.
Theodric,
Shaking in his boots.
Theodric is going to laugh and just grab his great shield and his long sword from where they are beside him and stand up.
Start making as much noise as possible, whacking your sword against your chin. No. Jess, I gotta have you make a stealth check for me.
Heck yes. This is where my luck goes really bad. No. I got a 21.
21. You all but vanish from sight. Valinith and Theodric, as she steps into the shadows, she immediately disappears. You begin sneaking
here before.
in the general direction of this noise, and you come across kind of towards the end of a clearing a large boulder. You lean up to kind of like around like by the boulder to listen, and it is very clear that whatever is making this noise is very much in the general vicinity. The quiet has become a and you hear like almost kind of like, you don't know if it's an animal, you don't know if it's a person, you have no idea. This is something that like you haven't heard before. But it's in the very much the immediate vicinity. I'm gonna have you make a either a nature check for me or a investigation check for me.
Okay, I'm going to.
They're equally terrible. I'm just gonna draw my daggers as well.
Okay.
So I have one.
I've got an 8
On
Oh, what am I rolling? I'm sorry.
On what roll?
on my investigation check.
Just Jess.
Oh,
okay.
just.
Unless someone wants to spend an inspiration, it is a 2 for a total of 1.
Oh.
You go,
You're
you
rolling
take
hot.
out your dagger, and you walk around this rock in a very kind of like broad sweeping motion. And immediately the sound is now behind you. You look back, and at the very base of the rock, you see what looks to be a man slumped back against the rock, gasping for breath as if the life is fading from his lips.
So it's a human.
It is a human. It is a man. You do not
Okay.
recognize this man.
What do you see, Jess? Valnith calls. What do you see? Who goes there?
Can I hear Valineth, or is he too
Oh,
far
yeah.
Oh,
away?
I'm
Oh, yeah,
shouting.
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
shouting.
okay.
Basically, you've made your way probably about 30 feet off where your campsite is, just north. You didn't have to travel too far to see this person.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'll just yell, Valineth, there's someone in trouble, you need to come here right now!
Someone in
And-
trouble, you say, and he's shaking. He is shaking bad because he doesn't know what's going on. And he makes his way over, grabbing
can
his
I-
herbalist kit.
Are you doing anything,
I'm
Jess,
gonna
other than
help
just calling?
Valineth.
Okay.
Yeah, like, in my head, like, I was calling, yelling out, and at the same time doing a medicine check to see if I can figure out what the heck is wrong with this guy.
Make a medicine check.
Okay.
Coincidentally, Jessamine, what is your medicine at?
I'm not telling you anything.
It
It's
wasn't a good roll. It
It's
wasn't a good roll.
still not great because you're not a medic.
Whoa!
You're a
How
crazy.
dare you!
character.
She's a thief, not a healer.
I will tell you.
This is
that
character assassination.
crystals are a very real thing.
No, they're
and
not.
They do stuff.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
They weren't, but then Kyle gave me healing crystals. They are officially an item they
I'm
can
never
have in
gonna
the
forgive you,
world.
Kyle.
yeah. No, look, she's gonna use them, and it's going to be like, yeah. And what plus is that to it? Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about it.
As you call Valineth over, you begin to kind of investigate this man. His face is pale as a ghost, and he's got yellow flecked spit welling up from the corners of his mouth. You don't recognize the immediate signs of this. If anything, you start to panic a little bit as you call over Valineth to hurry.
Okay. And Valnith hurries over as much as he can, and
Make a medicine
he
check for me.
he examines the patient. Oh goodness, what's wrong with you, good sir? And examines. Not great. That's a 10. I'm rolling so bad today. So bad today.
You, with kind of the help of Jess, you notice the same things that she does. You have no idea exactly what is the cause of this, but this man seems to be suffering from poison. As you kind of investigate to see if there's like any wounds of any kind, you touch him and he immediately jolts open and says, "No." And there's something that he has clutched in his arm, and he immediately shoves it into your hands, Valineth, and says, please, before he begins to fall into unconsciousness again.
Okay. Yeah, so Valineth is going to turn him on his side, seeing that it is some sort of poisoning. He's going to hand whatever was handed to Valineth to Jess. He's not even going to look at it.
The man's yellow kind of bubbles begin to froth, as he kind of has like these like almost kind of like jolting spasms, but he's clearly unconscious. And is unable to. But yes, it's good that you turned him on his side, as this drool and spit has started to become seeping out of his mouth. He's still able to breathe.
Okay. Oh gosh, I don't know if I have anything to heal poison from anyone. So Valinith is going to. Oh, I don't know. Is there any way that Valinith can try to revivify him from unconsciousness other than healing his poison? Because I don't have anything that heals poison on me.
If you don't.
Oh yeah, I do. I do. I have a shadow thorn. So Valinith is gonna prepare a shadow thorn and
you do
start
so. You
quickly
begin
preparing
to
it.
get your herbalist kit out and begin to start preparing this shadow thorn, making it into a concoction, an antidote to whatever this is. Jess, are you doing anything with this piece of paper?
So it's a bit of paper. I think Jess is like a little bit shell shocked. Maybe like bothering Valinith with like questions. Oh, what are we doing? What do we do? I can run and get some charcoal from the campfire. Oh,
In Valinith is in his element, and he's preparing what he's doing. It's just like as if like a freaking a textbook. He's just saying like in textbook type speech exactly what he's doing, exactly what he's preparing. He's not even focusing on what Jessamine is saying.
No.
He is just worried about the patient.
Okay.
Theodric, as you stand back at the campfire, what are you doing?
Theodric is on high alert. Obviously he can't really see what Jessamine and Valinith are doing with this man. He doesn't want to leave Engelmer asleep and undefended. But he is on high alert. He is keeping an eye and an ear out for anything out of the ordinary. And just, yeah.
Your general perception, as you look around, nothing other than whatever this person is that is needing assistance. You look around to see if this is a trap or anything, any kind of surprise. And you notice a little stirring, actually, in Baradrock. He kind of is no more just like in his crouched sleeping position, kind of down over by Engolmer. He lifts his head and just... You can tell that he's a little bit disturbed by something. You could see his ears twitching. About a moment or two pass. I'm gonna actually have all of you make a perception check for me.
Okay.
That's better. 22.
Nat 20!
Victory.
That's so good.
But no, I got a 21.
It is very clear to all of you. There is the sound of howling in the distance, and it is coming very rapidly approaching up from the path that you are currently on in the opposite direction coming your way.
Theodric is going to quickly shake Engelmer awake.
He kind of stumbles awake, and he immediately reaches out for Wolfbiter, his axe, and he grips it in his hands. He's like, "What is it? What is it?" And he
howling, and something's approaching quickly.
He listens for a moment. You can see that he physically relaxes himself. Actually, as he hears the howling. Those are not warg howls. And in the distance, you can see there are, now you begin to hear, well, you see, what look to be 3 hounds running, sprinting towards you. And not far behind, you can begin to hear the sound of hooves. They are followed in tow by what look to be riders of some kind up this forest path. the dogs, they begin to surround, and Ingolmer, he reaches his hand out and begins to kind of whisper to them. They calm down a little bit. He seems to have some kind of control, but these look actually quite familiar. They look very similar to the build of Rufus. These look to be woodman warhounds. They begin growling at you as they don't necessarily get closer to you, and at this point Brodrock has stood up and is just just like not having any of this, and makes his way over kind of behind you as if to kind of support you from the back, Theodric. These warriors, these very clear warriors, not much later, come to you, and they immediately, Theodric, you can see that and from your guys' position, you can see this as well. All you have to do is just peer from around the rock, and you can see this. They look to be warriors clad in what look to be a red and black chain armor. They are riding these horses that look decently armored and fortified, and they are all holding what look to be great shields on their back and swords at their waists. One of the figures, one that kind of takes the lead, addresses you, Theodric, and Ingolmer as well. Who are you? Tell me your names and your purpose on this road. She has clearly not recognized either of the two of you.
I am Theodric Grimborn of the Riddermark. I'm here with my companions heading towards the Folk-moot at Roskabel.
Now there. And Ingolmer, he speaks up. The name is Ingolmer Axebreaker. What business do you have on my roads? And there's a little bit of uncertainty that you can tell. But Theodric, I'm going to have you make an insight check for me.
Okay, where's my insight? Insight. That is a 9. I also forgot to tell you, Kyle, it's the start of our adventure phase. I've used my Doom to Die trait.
Okay.
To get rid of 1 point of wisdom.
Okay.
For an extra 4 temporary hit points.
Okay, perfect.
So, yeah, that's a 9.
You look at this individual, and it's hard to kind of tell her expression. Other than her voice, it's clearly a woman, but she has this helmet on that is obscuring her face and everything from you. She seems a little taken aback from the silence that there is. She immediately dismounts her horse and takes off her helmet, and you can see kind of this slender figure, but broad shoulders, and she has this black hair with this white streak running down through it, and she says, well met. And then she whistles, and the dogs immediately stop growling, and they heel. I did not expect to find the chief of the woodmen out here on the road, protected by a foreigner from a strange land. Theodric, she does not seem to have noticed Jess and Valinith, or they are securely hidden behind this rock, unless, Jess, you wish to reveal yourself.
No. I am very comfortable staying hiding, please, and thank you.
Perfect.
Valinith's not even paying attention. He's still trying to heal this dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
My name is Dagmar, and we are friends of the woodmen. Ingolmer, he looks back, and he looks to you, Theodric, and he tightens his grip a little bit. Friends of the woodmen! I know not your sigil or your allegiances. Who do you serve, if not the woodmen, in my lands? And she says, fear not. And she bids the other soldiers, there are 3 other soldiers with her to step down off of their horses. Fear not, fear not. My name is Dagmar. I serve the Lord of Tyrant's Hill. Perhaps you've heard of us. Make a traditions check for me, Theodric.
That is an 8.
No, this does not ring a bell at all.
Theodric is very perplexed and just kind of like looks to Engelmer to see if he knows anything of what they're talking about.
He looks to you, Theodric, a little perplexed, and then looks back. Tyrant's Hill! That place has been long abandoned. These past 5 years, it was under control of the Necromancer. You say there's a lord there. Who is this lord? I serve Lord Mogdred. After the Necromancer left, he has taken up residence. But as I had mentioned, we are friends of the Woodman. Even though I've never heard of you. Fear not, fear not. We are after someone. Someone who's taken something from us. Perhaps you know anything of someone on the run. Very clear. They are... well, perhaps of woodman kind. And she kind of smirks for herself, but like looks at you.
Can I make an insight check?
Make an insight check for me. What are the Valineth and Jess? What are you doing at this moment?
Well, Valineth is
she's audible
preparing.
enough. She's audible enough for you, both of you, even in the midst of your, to be able to hear her.
All right, Valineth kind of like, as he's preparing, moves the man even more so behind the rock if he can, trying to stay out of sight. Like, if she passes by the road, like, even from whatever direction, try to hide him as best as possible. While still preparing.
Jess, as she hears, like, Dagmar say that, she glances towards Valineth and the guy, and seeing Valineth like make moves to secret him, she will look down at the paper in her hand.
Make an investigation or a riddle check for me.
Okay.
Also, I got a 17 on that insight check.
She seems to be dutiful. She doesn't seem hostile at all towards the two of you. She seems genuine as far as her intentions. She doesn't seem to be deceiving you. Everything that she's told you from what you can hear seems to be truthful.
I might wait for Jess to do her check and then I'll continue on.
I got a 14.
14 for your riddle?
Investigation.
Investigation, okay. So you look down and you see scrawled writing.
I should have used riddle. That's okay.
I think your riddle's a little bit better. But she looked down. You looked down.
So it would have been a 16 if I used riddle. But
and you see scrawled out. It looks like pretty quick writing, actually. And this is kind of a damaged piece of parchment as well, as if it has been through a lot. But it is scrawled down. You see that whoever wrote this mentioned something about orcs in Fenbridge Castle, one of the outlying fortresses of Dol Guldur.
Oh.
And then you see written down, Radagast must know.
Okay. I shove the paper in my pocket.
Okay.
As that's going on, Theodric is going to basically what is it, Dagmar?
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of man are you looking for? A criminal, perhaps, or
Someone who has escaped our lord. He has committed crimes of thievery, treachery. But our primary concern is that this man has returned to our lord safely. And she smiles, and she says, if there's anything that you can do to help lead us in the right direction, please let us know. We would be in your debt.
Could I do a quick traditions check to see, like, I'd assume that these are Engelmer's lands, so, like, another lord's, like, if this guy even has the right to call himself a lord, like...
The one
would
thing
they
I
have
will
the
say
right?
you do know is Ingolmer doesn't consider himself a lord.
But everyone else does. Like,
Everyone else does. So, yeah.
like,
that's
he's in
fair.
charge, like...
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, if I could just do a traditions check to see if they're allowed to just hunt random people they say are criminals.
Yeah, go ahead and make a traditions check. This is... Yeah, no modifier. Just go ahead and make a traditions check for me.
That's a nice 10. A nice flat 10.
From what you know, especially with the laws of Rohan, those from the Westfold can come into the Eastfold if they are in search of criminals that have done something to their, basically, regional lords. These are laws, but you don't know of any laws such as this within the Woodland, or within Mirkwood, or even with the Woodmen. If anything, you probably look to Ingolmer and you defer to him.
Theodric would be doing that in this situation, yes.
Okay. In Golmer, he says, we've seen no such person that you were looking for on the road. You said that we would be, that he'd be easy to spot. Do you have a name? Anything that we could go by? Perhaps we could be on the lookout. She looks kind of suspiciously at the two of you. The name is Baron. As I had mentioned, he had stolen something from Mogdred, my lord. Something that is of value. We wish for that item to be returned and for this man to seek justice. Fear not, I'm hiding nothing from you. Theodric and Jess. Make perception checks for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank goodness it's not insight.
Not me?
I've got 19.
19.
5.
5. Theodric, you notice that two of the dogs have begun to sniff wildly. The other one has got up and started sniffing around the campfire. They seem to have caught the trail of something, and Dagmar has noticed.
Theodric is going to go, well, no, aside from, the odd deer call and the odd owl, we haven't heard much of anything. It's been rather quiet on the road tonight.
In Golmer, he backs you up. Indeed. We've seen nothing of the sort. If anything, the strangest thing we have seen tonight is you showing up. And he looks between... Speaking of which, and he looks to see that the both Jess and Valnith are not there, but he doesn't say anything. He's smart enough to know what's going on, kind of. But you're also completely unaware of what's going on, too. Kind of.
But no, if we see any suspicious men carting around stolen goods, we'll be happy to, I guess, apprehend them and bring them to... Where did you say you were from again?
My lord is from Tyrant's Hill. His name is
Tyrant's
Mogdred.
Hill.
It'd be good for you to remember his name. And you. And he points to Ingolmer, and literally points at Ingolmer. You. My lord has talked all about you. Ingolmer Axebreaker. We will meet one day, and he will meet you. And we will become friends. Fast friends, I'm sure. And Golmer just stands there looking. Theodric.
I must say that the thought of becoming friends with anyone who happily presides in a place called Tyrant's Hill doesn't exactly fill me with confidence.
And Ingolmer, he cuts in. No, 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 no. No offense to your lord. And he says, Tyrant's Hill is the name that we have given that forsaken place for some time. Clearly, this new lord has kept the name. But as I had mentioned, Shadow has been lifted from there for some time. Sir Radagast has informed me of such. And, looks very seriously at Dagmar. Theodric, I'm going to have you make either a deception or a persuasion check for me.
You got this.
Everyone get their inspiration ready.
If anyone has inspiration,
Okay.
I'm about 5,000.
Okay. Hang on.
You can't give inspiration to yourself. It's
I
not
know.
legal.
I can do that though. D16.
D16.
Oh my god.
That is a 16.
You're joking.
No
Now watch him roll like a
freaking
1.
joke.
So everyone gets inspiration then.
Everyone.
Okay,
If you
I
already
will
have
happily
inspiration,
take
you're
it.
not double inspired, but
Gosh darn it.
So.
Did
Channel
Valenus
rewards.
have inspiration already?
I did, yeah.
No! You're
rolled-
joking!
It's always the way. It's always the way.
Easy come, easy go. It's just... Wait, can I get advantage because Engulmer's helping me lie?
Oh, you did just use your advantage.
Oh,
You can't
yeah.
be double advantage.
Okay, yeah.
No, it would be advantage
It's okay.
for
The forge team's coming
You
in
haven't
clutch.
revealed your answer to me yet. I will say you get
The
plus
forge
2 to your roll.
team. The forge
Okay.
team is coming in clutch.
Well, I got a 9 then.
9.
Nice.
We bid you
Who
adieu.
are you giving that to? It'll have to go to Theodric because he's the only one who
he just
doesn't
does
it.
have any.
She says, evening to the two of you. Bid you adieu. Again, if you hear any news, we'll be around. And she calls her dogs as the rest of them mount up and they start making their way back up the road. You notice that she leaves an extra long head turn. As they disappear, she puts her helmet on into the distance.
Theodric kept eye contact with her as she was doing the long look.
Okay, make an intimidation check for me.
Oh.
That is a 19.
19.
Yo.
You stare daggers back at her. You can't tell if she's phased as she puts the helmet on, but she does eventually break your gaze. You have won the staring contest.
Champion!
Did I
Okay.
heal for sad thought and that we're healing?
You have stabilized.
Nice.
Well,
He has
as
not
they
regained
leave-
consciousness.
Nice.
As they go-
Well,
Theodric's like, okay, now we can check on the gentlemen that Valenus and Jessamine
As-
found.
As soon as she's out of sight, Jess sticks her heads out and she goes, "Okay, we need to break camp and move."
Valnith at the same time is preparing some king's foil to try to bring the man to consciousness.
Hmm.
Or does that not work? Do they have
Yeah,
to be
that-
willing to eat it, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically, it's like
Okay.
you could attempt to force it down. I would not recommend, as a
Yeah,
DM,
yeah.
I would not recommend attempting to do that. Special
yeah.
conditions, especially poisons, work a little bit different. When things are healed, they aren't completely healed until the completion of a short rest. So, like, if you, for example, get poisoned in combat, you can remove the poison status ailment technically, but the condition itself isn't completely gone until they have received a short rest. So it's kind of a weird caveat here in the in AME, but that's the way it is. It's supposed to be less high fantasy where it's oh, your condition is immediately revealed. Medicine takes a little bit of time, especially for things like poisons.
That makes sense. Well, Valneth will pick up the dude, I guess, after all he's done, continue to stabilize and say, "Well, it seems we're in quite a predicament."
And in
walks
Golmer,
towards
he sees that you carry this man, and he says, "What do you have there?" And he literally is like, you bring out this man, and you kind of bring him down, and before the fire, this man looks in rough shape.
Well, a once dying man who had been poisoned. And now he should be in stable condition. Give him time, and hopefully he comes to. But unfortunately, only time's going to tell.
Speaking of time, and now that you're not in a rush for it, Jessamine and Valinith, you have the ability to be able to search him for any kind of wounds or any kind of causes for this. One thing that you both find, you don't need to make a check for this, as you have the time to be able to do this investigation. It seems to be this man was stung by a spider. This doesn't seem like an ingested poison. There is a physical wound, something that you're familiar with from treating the elves in Mirkwood. This was spider venom, and now you have a better idea of how to help him going forward.
And Valnith will do so.
Okay. Yeah. He remains unconscious. What are the rest of you going to be doing in this moment?
Well, as Valinith is busy tending to the guy, I guess I'll be filling Ingolma and Theodric in. So I went around the rock and I was trying to see what the breathing was, because I didn't know if he was man or an animal, or if they were hurt or they were lying in wait, or anything. And then I found him, and he was choking on like yellow. Like his spit was yellow, and it was not a good
Valnith
time.
interjects spider venom apparently, and continues.
See, that to me, spiders are this big. I don't know what could possibly affect that. Or
Mirkwood spiders are much bigger.
That's horrifying, and I hate that.
In Golmer, he steps in. Spiders. Well, clearly at the state of this fellow, he looks like he's been on the road for days. I don't think this wound is new. And he says, between Woodman Town, Woodland Hall, and Roscabel, we keep our forest pretty clear of the spiders. We've driven them far off deep into the forest. If this is a man that they are looking for, he claim, well, he must have come from southern Mirkwood. Far to our, it was once a land covered in shadow. The only reasons we are kept safe all the way up north from here is from the power of Radagast at Roscabel. He serves as a bulwark down there against any evil creatures that try to make their way up this direction. You make your way south past Roscabel, you will start to find giant spiders. Which leads me to assume this perhaps was the prisoner Dagmar was looking for.
Yes, the apparent thief.
Ingolma.
Did you have anything on him, Jessamine? They claim that he stole something of great importance, and by the state of him, I doubt he had time to hide anything.
And Valnith pipes in, well, aside from what he handed me, which I gave Jess, I can take a look. And Valnith will look through his pockets to see if he's got anything valuable.
He has literally nothing with the exception of like scraps of what look to be like stems of leaves and stuff that he's like picked up from trying to be on the move and gain some kind of nourishment. Jess, continue.
Okay.
Ingolma, what would you have us do with this man?
Well, that remains to be seen. We did give our word that we would let Lord Mogdred know of an escaped prisoner. I, for one, am not one for keeping prisoners in our land of the woodmen, but for someone who's committed a serious enough crime, I will say I won't also deny a lord. Well, deny a lord their justice. He looks down at this individual as if attempting to recognize at all. He's going to investigate. But yes, is anyone going to respond to that?
Theodoric is going to. What's this that Velenith said about a scrap of paper he handed over?
I'm gonna wait for Ingolma to finish before I answer that.
He looks over the body. It's pale, it's clearly tired. His face is sunken. From what you can tell, it was weeks of being on the road and running, malnourished. Something is familiar about this lad. Something is familiar. And he goes in to look closer. If I'm not mistaken, this must be Baron. For those who don't know, Baron, well, he's the personal spy of Radagast. Clearly something has chased him up here past Broskabel.
At this, Jess will pull out the parchment. This is a message for Radagast about orcs, and she'll pass it to Ingolma.
He takes a look at it and says, "Troubling indeed. Orcs at Fenbridge."
And Valineth piping up. Yes. Well, Valineth piping up and says, knowing his cartography and all the study he's been doing, he's going to. Is there any way he can make any check and see if that's anywhere related to, what the Mogdred's
Tyrant's
place? Tyrant's Hill.
Yeah, make a traditions check for me, or shadow lore.
Mm-hmm. That is a 15.
With your 15, one thing that you've noticed with your time spent in Lothlorien, God bless you.
Bless you.
With your time spent within Lothlorien, you spoke a little bit with Galadriel and Celeborn, and they had mentioned a bit, warily, but a bit of their time banishing the Necromancer. This is all, again, in Valineth's mind. One thing that they had described in decent detail was the Fortress of Dol-Guldur. The Fortress of Dol-Guldur itself is an expansive complex that is a mixture of bogs and a central keep, but surrounding there is a giant castle that's half sunken into the swamp. This is called Fenbridge Castle. In regards to Tyrant's Hill, you have no idea what its relation is, but clearly from what Ingolmer said, it does reside in southern Mirkwood. This is something that the Woodmen are immediately know of by the name of the sound Tyrant's Hill.
Valineth talks about that as he's still treating the man. And he perks up and says, "This seems like ill news. I don't know if it's just a sneaking suspicion, but I don't trust this lady. I don't trust this new king. If there's orcs in their lands and they're chasing, obviously, Radagast's personal spy down for specific things, I can't help but think that they're not on our side."
And Ingolmer, he, gravelly grumbles to himself. I don't know what this Mogdred is up to. And if he's hiding information like this, and if he is after Baron, I'm not going to say for certain that this lord is of the shadow, but I am puzzled. As you said, Valineth, why would someone keep news like this a secret? It doesn't make sense. And with that, that's where we're going to end our session for tonight.
Oh man.
Very good.
We just started our adventure and now we're already knee deep in the weeds.
Once again.
Yeah.
I have no problem with this.
No, this is good. This is very exciting.
Well, we're knee deep in the weeds. You're more like shoulder
And-
height in the weeds, just mine.
Feanor's
me?
not having a
Yeah,
lovely
it's
stroll.
just so short.
Yeah, but that Fëanor, he's just like, I'm getting free fish. I'm catching up with acquaintances.
I'm setting culture.
Nick, there is something wrong with your mic. I'm
Cultures.
sorry, buddy.
Little domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Is that better?
Nope.
No.
I actually do need to get heading out, so
Yes,
can I
thoughts on your
quickly
session
give
for
my
tonight.
thoughts?
Yes.
I thought it was an amazing session. I missed you guys, honestly, like being gone the week
Yeah.
and a half technically that I was gone. It was a joy catching up on the events that unfolded, and I was happy to participate in it again. I'm happy that Valineth can be back to using his healing ways and using his scholarly ways. I will say from last week too, I know I talked a little bit with Kyle in like when I was available about what I was going to be doing during that holiday phase, and I feel like we really truly are in this campaign finally. I felt like for the longest time, even when we were through Mirkwood, it was still like beginning game, but now we're in the thick of it. We're truly a party that's together and doing a D&D campaign, which is awesome. I finally feel like I know my character well enough, and I'm very, very, very interested and keen to see the political implications of what's about to ensue. It's gonna be great.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dain. We will see you your next stream, normal stream
Today.
times. Today.
Yep,
There you
today
go.
and
2 p.m.
tomorrow. So 2 p.m.
Mountain time.
Mountain Standard Time. What is that? 4 a.m. or was it? I don't know what the time is.
I think it's
early.
It's 6.
6 a.m. on the eastern side of the world. Come join me. We're going to be playing some Octopath Traveler 2. And then I will also be streaming Pokemon Let's Go Eevee on Saturday or Sunday morning for my friends on the eastern side of the world. Anyways, got to peace out. Bye.
Later.
Theodric, your thoughts on tonight's session?
My thoughts on tonight's session. I agree with Dain that Mogdred is definitely a bad guy name. All the bad guys seem to have M names, Morgoth, stuff like that.
Mauron.
Didn't he have a Maeglin?
Maeglin, that was the one.
Mad, I mean Tad.
Yeah.
He makes you mad.
know.
No, Tad is a different type of enemy altogether.
But for sure, Mogdred sounds like a bad guy name.
Yeah.
How about this?
So does
Mogdred,
Dagmar.
Lord of Tyrant's Hill. How does that sound?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It doesn't like Theodric said, it doesn't fill him with confidence. Also, anyone chasing like a poisoned, half dead guy with hounds kind of doesn't strike me as a good person. But yeah, Theodric's wary of these people now. Doubly so after finding out that poor Baron is Radagast's personal spy. Like, Theodric doesn't know him that well, but like he and Radagast had some drinks together. They're kind of buddies, so and also like trying to hide stuff from a member of the White. Well, I guess Radagast is kind of like a vague member of the White Council, I suppose. But like he's a wizard, he's a good guy, so hiding stuff from him is never a good thing. But no, I had a good time. It was a good session. Yeah.
Wrapping up Fellowship.
Wrapping up Fellowship. Yes, I'm glad to have gotten so much more background info on Theodric, obviously. Still piecing it all together. Gonna have to rewatch episode 28.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it 29? I don't know, to figure it all out.
We're on
Take
episode
notes.
29, so.
Yeah, 28 then. But yeah, I had a good night.
Yeah, it's good. I also enjoyed it too. It's fun to see kind of how things are starting to again, as Dain had mentioned, come together a little bit. Where yeah, now it's no longer just you and like what's happening around you, but now there's more. You're starting to get more invested into the world, whether it's political intrigue, whether it's the events of just like you're actually starting to learn about like individuals and care about them and learn kind of their hopes and desires. And that's kind of the whole point of the fellowship phase to begin with is immerse yourself in the world and not focus as much on survival. So now that you are immersing yourself into the world and you're starting to build, as Feanor's doing, like bonds with people, as you're starting to unlock sanctuaries and patrons, and trying to gain trust of people, trying to figure out who you can trust. Yeah, story's beginning to take place and unfold. It's a good time. The one thing I will recommend, if you guys have time for it, of course, rewatch sessions, the interactions that you have with certain NPCs. Some of the words that I use are very choice, and think about it. Like I'm not necessarily revealing too much for the future, but a lot of themes and stuff during Fellowship Phase are like a lot of those things are going to be dumped during Fellowship Phase for like upcoming stuff. So it's really good to pay attention, even if you're not like in the current role play, to just kind of think about and percolate some like themes that are being brought up during those phases. So not too metagamey, but like just think about it. But yes, absolutely, for sure, I would agree with that. Jess, what were your thoughts on tonight?
Well, you know me, I always love hanging out with you guys, and it's good to have Dain back.
Yeah.
And all the good stuff. I really like the concept of Dagmar as a character. I feel like she is a very extremely cool person. She's probably on the wrong side. Maybe question mark, unconfirmed. It's pretty much confirmed. But like she just seems like a very cool concept as a character, like as an NPC, even if she is. Or maybe because she is, who knows? Who knows?
She's written very well, I will say. She has like an entire like page and a half dedicated to her, so that's pretty good. And when it comes to a source manual, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, stoked. Yeah.
This wasn't the last we saw.
I feel like she is a character that Bookish would approve of. That's the best way I can explain it.
Have a conversation with Bookish and let us know in the future.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If she's not here, force her to watch it.
For those of you watching on YouTube or like on Twitch chat, Bookish Nerd, what are the numbers? Like Bookish Nerd is one of our regular audience members. She's like an unofficial mod. Also my sister, so that's who we're talking about. She loves fire, and she's like adopted Feanor as like her half child.
Yeah, I didn't really get a choice in this. I'm still paying alimony.
Doesn't she pay you alimony?
No, that's the weird part.
Yeah, when you're over 100 years old, it's like you have more responsibility or something.
So yeah, apart from that one, it was really interesting to see like sort of, obviously last session was sort of Jess's first time being a thief and doing burglary stuff. So it was interesting to see how that carried over into like the rest of the party dynamics. And like she's a bit strange to play sometimes, because like I'm writing this line of being like, yeah, she's extremely kind and gentle, but like there's also this cutthroatness to her.
Yeah.
Also,
like,
she's a thief. She's gonna steal.
Also, she's a thief, and
she
it's
is a Sackville Baggins.
It's so bizarre. and I don't
Could
know.
look
if
at
I'm
it
doing
more as that she
properly.
has like an ambition that she's trying to meet. She's not directly
Yeah,
trying to make someone
exactly.
else feel worse off in the end, but she is trying to do stuff for her own gain.
Yeah, like, yeah, she did like tell Engolma about the Goblin Horde and stuff, but like ultimately she was hoping that there'd be some kind of reward for that, or maybe like this is something to pursue in the future. She's spitballing at the moment. She doesn't have a wizard to tell her what to do. She just sort of has to make her own way.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe she does need a wizard. I heard the best way to find them is to not look.
Well, she's definitely not looking.
Does she doesn't even know not to look, so maybe that'll expedite the process. Who knows? Who knows? She's going to
Not
Roscabel and
looking
there's some
square.
wizard there. So.
Like,
It works for Bilbo.
with how she views Bilbo, I can't imagine she was gonna have a good reaction to Gandalf. I'm not gonna lie.
I really
Oh, that
kind
troublemaker.
I kind of don't get the whole Bilbo thing. Just like, I don't know. Just the way you described it didn't make much sense to me. She's like, damn that Bilbo for going off on an adventure and making money. And then she's like, you know what? Just to prove it to him, I'm going to go do the exact same thing.
Well-
but it's different
well,
when
in
I
You know
do it.
what? You know
In some
what?
of Jess's story that she spoke to Feanor about, in some of her
Exactly.
backstory. Go watch that episode when we were still at the inn. She revealed some of why she's out on the road.
Yeah, that's the episode I'm rewatching at the moment, actually, and I'll have the timestamps posted tomorrow probably. But yeah, Theodoric, they might seem like that on the surface level, but like, trust me, I did put some amount of thought into this character.
Oh, and I was right there with you. So no worries. The character is more than just not well written.
What she appears.
There's
to
depth.
Be, yeah.
There's depth.
I mean,
So
I
no
hope
worries.
so.
And that's good. Actually, Theodoric, I'm really glad that you're asking these questions because, like, I think very much Jess, the way that you're playing Jessamine right now is all like it makes it seem like everybody, including yourself, is like figuring this character out, including me too. Where it's like kind of your backstory and everything that's going on and whatnot, and like everyone's a little bit suspicious of you. And what's happening, and like some things don't line up and don't make sense, meaning it's like, can I fully trust, or like all these kinds of things. Like it's a character that I can tell Jess is very like not secretive, but she places her trust in very few people, I can tell. And that's something to build towards as a party, perhaps. So but very cool.
It's so weird playing a new character and you don't know who they are yet.
Oh yeah. You adapt as you go, right?
Oh yeah. You learn as you go.
Well,
That's all.
well, she's a crystal lady.
Yeah,
seem-
but she's a crystal girly. That's important.
sorry, crystal girly.
That's great.
Oh man.
Feanor, your
Side
thoughts
note,
on it?
not related
Yes.
at all, but I cannot wait to teach Dain about girl math. It's gonna be so good.
Oh,
All of you are so done with my hype.
I can
it's
picture.
the doom of us all.
I'm kind of hoping Maeglin has a comeback and just finishes off The Hobbit.
Maeglin come back with like one leg and just like, I'm not dead yet.
Look, I'm hoping he
feel
does a Darth
happy.
Maul.
I'm having the time of my life over here.
Oh, that's good. Me too.
So like, okay, serious note, guys. I don't want my fun to be like a detriment to your playing experience at all. Okay.
No. I think it's genuinely a very good aspect of your character that she's a crystal lady.
I like it, but I simultaneously hate it. I hate it.
I think that's what makes it fun. I think it's fun.
It is what makes it funny to me.
And
'cause
there
I'm
are
just
going
like,
to be
"Oh."
people out there that really like it. There's going to be people out there that really hate it. I mean, you can't be out there for everyone, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not out there for like every single person in the audience or anything. But
Yeah,
like
for
at
sure.
the end of the day, D&D to me is collaborative storytelling, and I want everyone, at least in the party, at the virtual table, to be having fun.
Oh, I'm having fun, but Theodoric's going to be getting his heels from from Valineth first and foremost.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Then Feanor,
Lemon.
then he'll work on himself, and then he'll get Baradorok to do it.
As
Yeah,
Valineth
but-
is putting together the Shadow Thorn poison recipe, you sneak over just a little drop of lemon or two in there. Valineth's like, what are you doing?
I'd use charcoal for poison.
Theodric's
I've
looking
heard
to
that's
Baradorok and Nympharion.
See,
for,
I don't know the healing
medical
properties of
support
that. I
first.
have to go onto WebMD for some of your home remedies. I'm like,
Actually, charcoal is something that can be used to help purge
Yeah.
different stuff from you. If
I
you,
have a-
if
I
you
have a
eat,
book.
If you there
I'm
is,
sure
I'm
from
not gonna get into too much
Australia, that's a
detail.
very important thing to learn.
I'm
All the
not gonna
venomous
get
and
into
poisonous
too
things
much-
there.
I'm not going to get into too much detail, but it is actually a medical thing where they will get coal, and mix that with saline, like a liquid, and then you drink that, and let's just say it evacuates everything in your body within a very reasonable amount of time. If
The
it's an emergency.
purge.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because your body can't digest any of it, and it's like, whoa, what is this?
Rufus,
So
Rufus
there's
eats a
actually-
block of chocolate. He's getting that.
Yeah, it's essentially that, but for people.
Yeah. People. Feanor, what are your thoughts about tonight's session?
I think it was going pretty well. It was a little disappointing. He got to Woodman Town, and he's like, everyone's already kind of left for the Folk-moot. But I got a 0.
Yeah, natural zero.
'cause I
Well, not
haven't-
natural. Zero rules they're no joke.
Yeah, it's like, man, nothing happens. There isn't anything here. God damn it. But no.
Just
I
wait
did
till you
like
get your first -1.
yeah, thank God. I don't think I can. But no, it was fun running around. It's fun going between these different settlements, and almost like he's building up this idea of he's going around helping people for the sake of helping them.
Mhm.
But then he's like, look, we've established a bit of a rapport. This is kind of what I want to happen. Will you help me? This idea of almost building up a standing army. If let's say it's successful, then this is the first major step to affect all of Middle Earth that he's taken.
I think
He's.
I
Yeah.
think of diplomacy and the way that it's done. It's the chances are much slimmer when you drop something in front of a council, especially when you're in front of a council and you're a stranger to most of them. And you'd be like,
Yeah.
hey, I've done this, this, and this. Join me in an army, as opposed to, again, as you had mentioned, building rapport, going out to each of the settlements. I think what you're doing is very diplomatic and makes a lot of sense. And so people kind of know what you're about, and know the kind of person you are from spending time with them. And also, it's just generally, it's diplomacy. And I think you're building that in a decent way. So it's good.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm trying to work on, because, just little things here and there, even if at the moment these are currently smaller communities, it's still trying to get the support of people, because if I show up, and I go, look, I have, I've literally helped your people, I've helped establish, literally freed them from, shadow and everything, there isn't, a lack of shadow in this land. It literally, a year ago, I had to come here and clear it out. You might think it's a time of peace, but just because there isn't a war going on, the Woodmen know better than most, something's wrong with the Mirkwood.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and there are goblins. I'll probably, hopefully, be able to call them in Mountain Hall. There's goblins and stuff. He's still constantly fighting them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But hopefully, if all goes well, it'll result in at least some motion being taken, and perhaps, if a standing army is made up, I'll be able to send letters back to Dale and stuff hey, this is the kind of things I'm doing. If you want to try and coordinate with, this major force, come talk to this guy. His name's Ingulma, and he's, the leader of this area. Helping establish a stronger network of alliances.
The shared vision, and that's exactly it. Making alliances in a area. You have to remember, prior to the Battle of the Five Armies, all of the kingdoms in especially northern Middle-earth were completely fractured. The Wood Elves wanted nothing to do with the men and the Dwarves. The Dwarves were non-existent. All of them had pretty much fled either to the Blue Mountains or the Iron Hills, and that Iron Hills is a freaking long way away. The people of Esgaroth were a broken people from a broken kingdom of Dale. And even then, within the city, there was kind of this fighting between, how they wanted leadership. And then you have the woodmen who are off doing their own thing, Beorn, who wanted nothing to do with anyone. And yeah, it's just like northern Middle Earth was as fractured as it could be, and go figure that you have like Sauron in the form of the Necromancer come in and start to corrupt a place like Dol Guldur, and it took the leaders of this world, the White Council, to go and rid them, and an unsuspected traveler, adventurer, a hobbit, to stir events into motion to start the bond of this. And as we can see with Feanor and the rest of the party, everybody kind of from those events, whether or not they like Bilbo or not, or the dwarves that were with him, events start to happen, and domino effect starts to begin, and it just depends on, how a few people can change the world. So it's good. No, I completely agree. I think it's super duper neat, and to see how you guys are actually leaving a footprint with the decisions that you're making on Middle Earth. It might not seem like it a lot, but I can't stress enough that yes, there are events that happen in the War of the Ring that, like, yeah, there are things that are destiny, and there are things that are going to be happening regardless. But your job here, and I think Tolkien really stresses this, is you fight for every day the safety of someone for the next day, for the next year, for the next 5 years, 10 years from now. The impact that you make is the fight against the shadow that perhaps inspires those people to rise up against the shadow during the War of the Ring. So yeah, it's really cool how, like, the events that you make, you actually do make your impact on the story, even though the story's technically already written. So it's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, Feanor's also gonna he's gonna show when everyone else shows up. He's gonna be like, "Oh, guys, so good to see you." And go, "Yep. Oh, hey guys, hey Kilvera, hey Emily." It just starts greeting all these different leaders of all these communities. And he's gonna be like, "Oh yeah. Oh wait, Deirdre, did you say it's Radagast Brown? No, I haven't met that one. That's a one to you."
Pretty great.
But no, yeah, it's gonna be good seeing how it goes with the Folk-moot, and seeing I've got bad charisma, but if the dice are in my favor, then perhaps I'll get what I want.
For sure. It's been so good. You've heard my thoughts on tonight's session. It was great. This is the building blocks. Fellowship Phase are building blocks for themes to come up, but also the beginning of these adventures. I'm excited for the group to get together, for all of the important stuff to happen, with everybody there and everybody present, and just the nature of splitting up. It just happens. Yeah, it's good to kind of see what's going to be happening come the Folk-moot, but also going forward into the future. And hopefully the rest of you, those who are watching, are feeling the same thing, because we're enjoying this. This is a great game between friends, but hopefully you guys are feeling just as connected in this story and as immersed as at least I am, and from what it sounds like the rest of the party is. It's been a lot of fun. So let's just continue and just keep doing what we're doing. It's just a good time. Good time.
Quick question before we're over. Who's the current king of Rohan?
The current king of Rohan? That's a really freaking good question. I'll get back to you. It's something like Elfthane or something, but I will get back to you on that and tell you in the Discord. How about that? Okay. Because I don't have my Rohan guide with me right now.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's literally the dude right before Theoden. So.
Oh, okay. I just checked that out, so it's all good.
Can you also post to the Discord the list of stuff that was in that adventuring pack? Because I definitely missed some things.
I got you, and I will also second that. I have to create some items too, so we're not using some of the items that are on D&D. So I'll just add them to your character sheets. How's that sound?
Okay, sounds like less work for me.
Heck yeah.
Great.
Sweet. You'll notice one of the things that I did edit, if you have a water skin in your bag, I noted charges on it. This is going to be a passive thing, and I'm going to leave it on you guys to update. Every day, if you're traveling normal pace, you have to consume 1 charge of water. And so there's 8 charges because it's 8 gallons, and then you just every day do that. And then that you can keep track on yourselves every day that passes, oh shoot, like I need to start thinking about water. That's gonna kind of how rations are as well. We'll treat it like that. You like without fail, you have to spend a ration. Every day you're on the adventure, and when you're starting to get low on it, that's when we can start thinking about hunts and like that kind of stuff. So we can make it make sense. We don't have to role play all of that or anything. It's just something to keep track of. So I'm trying to make it easy on you guys to figure that out, because it really is more than anything like the journey is what this game focuses on, not just the destination. So there's a lot that goes on.
I
yes.
did. Sorry, side note. I did also notice that you put some pipeweed in my inventory. Should I be marking off charges of that as well?
Yes. If you
Okay.
use it.
Yeah, I've used it once already,
Yeah.
so I've marked.
So mark off charges if you do use it. So for sure.
Yeah, clarification. Great.
Yeah, I think that's it. We have lots of streams. Check out for the rest of the week. As Dain had mentioned previously, we're up to about 9 streams a week, sometimes 10, depending on the week. But Dain will be continuing with Octopath Traveler 2, his Pokemon Nuzlocke. I'll be starting Baldur's Gate 3 on Monday and Wednesday.
Oh, that's gonna be so fun to watch.
Very nice.
I'm very excited.
Working on Monday though.
Wednesday too, though. With just kind of this is a game for mature audiences, so unfortunately for those of you, I will be marking it as a mature audience type thing. We have plenty of completely family friendly stuff for everybody, with most of Dain's streams and hopefully with the rest of our stuff. I just really want to play this game, and I don't have any other time outside of stream to play video games, so we're gonna play it on stream and it's gonna be great. And I got special permission from Dain to be able to do stuff, so it's good. I'm excited for it, and it'll be a doozy of a game. I've heard a lot about it, played it very little, and I'm gonna just dive head in on this thing. But we also have a sponsor here at Fantasy Forge Studios. It is Daisaki. They're a Japanese sweets and luxury treats company. They sell a number of things from popular Japanese sweets all the way to in their omakase box to traditional in their omakase looks, and then kawaii anime stuff in their kawaii snack box as well. They also, for a limited time, I believe this week, is the last week for their summer box, so check that out for their omatsuri box for that before they move into their autumn seasonal flavors, which I think in Japan, from what I've seen at like stores, it's like a lot of like chestnut, a lot of satsumaimo, which is like sweet potato, which when I first came to Japan and I was like, sweet potato, what? Because I love sweet potatoes. It's magical. And I guess like other flavors. I'm not sure what they're going to be having in their box this year, but it'll be cool. And check them out. If you do order from them, say that Fantasy Forge sent you in the memo, and then also your stream name, and because it helps us out, but also if you refer us, your reference from us, we are making progress towards a free giveaway, which they'll give away an omatsuri box, or not omatsuri, an omakase box here on the channel, and if you put your Twitch name, you'll get some great goodies with that. We'll do like tickets and stuff to be entered into that, so that'll be good. I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys here. Thank you all of the players for joining. Any last minute thoughts before we peace out for the night and resume next week?
Nope.
See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
May the road go ever onward and onward.
Yeah, it's going good.
Bye, guys.
Bye.